Okay, good evening everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Is it raining? थोड़ी थोड़ी बारिश हो रही है. चलो. Hi. So, class on Saturday. Day before yesterday, what happened? I was having class in other batch, RB5. और वहाँ पे एक स्टूडेंट ने बड़ी मासूमियत से पूछा कि सर अभी वहाँ पे 5 क्लासेस हुई हैं केवल, एंड ही आस्क्ड कि सर आर वी इज द कोर्स गेटिंग डिलेड, व्हाई डू वी हैव अ क्लास ऑन संडे. मैंने कहा यार अभी तो 5 क्लास हुई हैं तुम्हारी और तुम अभी से डिले की बात कर रहे हो. स्टूडेंट्स वर मोर कंसर्न दैट संडे को क्लास है, लाइक यू पीपल माइट बी सैटरडे को क्लास है. फॉर यू कैन वॉच द क्लासेस एट अ लेटर डेट, but I will have to stand here and perform live on a Saturday as well as Sunday. So please don't complain anybody that we are having a class on Saturday or Sunday. The reason for the classes are, पिछले Thursday को छुट्टी थी, फिर इस Monday को छुट्टी थी, and next Monday को छुट्टी है. तो because of 3 quick holidays in quick succession, that is why this Saturday Sunday had to be a working day for everybody. That is why we are having classes. ठीक है. आपकी 2 क्लासेस हैं भाई साहब, मेरी भी 2 क्लास, मेरी आपकी. आई ऑल्सो हैड अ क्लास इन द मॉर्निंग. 10 to 1 एंड नाउ दिस इज माई सेकेंड क्लास ऑफ द डे. सो ऑल हम सब एक ही कश्ती में, चिंता मत करो. एनीवेज, सो लेट अस बिगिन द क्लास. आई विल सी द क्वेश्चंस दैट यू पीपल हैव पोज्ड. आई विल आंसर देम फर्स्ट. We'll have a quick recap of what we did last time, and today we have to study a very important topic of speculative demand of money. I asked you to study speculative demand for money from wherever you could find. Anyway, the best source I told you is NCERT. Read from NCERT. Things would get very clear if you read from NCERT. Certainly, NCERT, reading of NCERT along with what I am going to tell you in the class, those things should be more than sufficient regarding understanding speculative demand of money. ठीक है, तो इससे पहले मैं क्वेश्चंस देख लेता हूं क्या है. हाँ, नो रिकैप टुडे. ठीक है चिन्मय जी, नो रिकैप टुडे. लेट मी सी एनी क्वेश्चंस. सोहम का क्वेश्चन है सबसे पहले. सर, कैन यू ब्रीफली डिस्कस द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड अबैंडनिंग द गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड? आई रेड दैट इट वाज ड्यू टू स्टैगफ्लेशन इन द यूएस इकोनॉमी विद अ मच हायर डिमांड फॉर डॉलर्स देन द वैल्यू ऑफ गोल्ड इट वाज बैक्ड बाय. In hindsight, it seems as just a measure given US domination in the Cold War, but how will it fare in future with the rise of new global power like China, India, and having US dollar backed against nothing? Soham, this is a others. मैं दोबारा से क्वेश्चन आपको बता देता हूँ क्या पूछा है सोहम ने. क्वेश्चन इज, सोहम इज आस्किंग मी टू इलैबोरेट अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट समथिंग कॉल्ड एज गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड. And more than elaboration, he is asking me to tell me about why did the US basically abandon gold standard. So this discussion we will not have today. ये हम आज नहीं करेंगे. This discussion we will have immediately after the topic of monetary policy. Everybody kindly listen. We have understood what money is. हमने money के बारे में देखा है कि money क्या है. We have understood what fiat money is. Fiat money, हमने fiat money देखा है. Everybody please pay full attention here. We have understood what fiat money is. Money by order. We have not yet questioned the very assumption that why would something be accepted as fiat money? Why do we accept a 100 rupees note having a value equivalent to 100 rupees? Why do we accept $10 having value equivalent to $10? Just because RBI says that this is equals to 100 rupees, we'll accept? Chances are no. There has to be a historical context to this evolution. There is a historical context to this evolution. We have discussed a currency developing from ground up with the example of Bitcoin. A currency, something developing as a currency, as in something developing as a medium of exchange from ground up. Something that exists, which is worthless, which has no value of its own, no intrinsic value of its own, but just because it serves some purpose, the purpose being convenience. It serves a purpose that it can be conveniently used as something that can be used to exchange goods. convenience, because it simply serves our convenience, and it is backed by some technology. It has certain other properties, desirable properties. Therefore, more and more people are starting to use it as a medium of exchange, and that is why Bitcoin has some value today. Bitcoin doesn't have any value because somebody says it has a value. It has value because there is a demand for that thing. At present, there is a demand for Bitcoin. That is why Bitcoin has certain value. Otherwise, intrinsically worthless. 100 rupees note, on the other hand, intrinsic value of paper in that 100 rupees note worthless. 1-2 रुपए लगते हैं 100 रुपए का नोट बनाने में, 2000 रुपए का नोट बनाने में लगभग 2 रुपए लगते हैं. So intrinsic value of that note is worthless, but we still accept it to exchange goods actually worth 2000 rupees. Because RBI has set, because RBI कहता है, इसलिए हमने accept कर लिया fiat money. It would not be that simple. It is not that simple. There is a complete historical evolution associated with it, and one very important aspects in that evolution is something called as gold standard. एक चीज है gold standard. I have conveniently skipped telling what gold standard is in the class, because more suitable discussion on gold standard is when we discuss external sector. जब हम external sector की बात करेंगे. When we discuss external sector, more importantly currency exchange rate, that how is dollar valued against rupees or any other currency, this is where we'll bring in gold standard. और तब मैं आपको currency की history के बारे में, actual history के बारे में थोड़ा सा बताऊंगा, that how has currency actually evolved. Those classes, again, we'll have those classes right after monetary policy. This topic of monetary policy will take about 8 or 10 classes in total. Monetary policy and banking लगभग 8 से 10 classes लगेंगी. And then right after that, we'll start with this external sector. In that, the first discussion that we are going to have is on exchange rates, and this is where we'll discuss gold standard. ठीक है? तो सोम अभी discuss नहीं करूंगा. Great that you have asked. I'll just tell you the source if you want to read it. Read NCERT external sector chapter. NCERT में जो एक्सटर्नल सेक्टर वाला चैप्टर है, in that in the beginning there is a brief discussion about what gold standard is, was, and why was it abandoned. It is given. Read NCERT. Don't need to read any complex books. Don't need to watch any complex videos on YouTube. No purpose of. They'll serve no purpose. NCERT is a very good book. Gives decent enough explanation of what gold standard is. ठीक है, वो पढ़ोगे वहां से समझ में आ जाएगा. ठीक है, अभी के लिए आप पढ़ सकते हो क्योंकि आपने पूछा है. बाकी लोग अभी उसको पढ़ना अवॉइड करो, बिकॉज वी हैव नॉट येट डिस्कस्ड इट. बट ग्रेट दैट समबडी आस्क्ड इट. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट शांतनु का क्वेश्चन है, सर इन मटेरियल इट सेज मनी शुड पोजेस द फॉलोइंग फीचर्स: इजीली डिविजिबल, यस सर्टेनली यस. बी डिफिकल्ट टू काउंटरफिट, ऑब्वियस. हैव अ नोन वैल्यू. So please say what does these 3 points mean. I understand the third point a bit, but remaining 2 are not clear. Remaining 2 तो बहुत clear होने चाहिए शांतनु. So शांतनु is saying money should possess the following features: easily divisible. Easily divisible का मतलब क्या है? Easily divisible का मतलब है I have to buy something worth 8 rupees. 8 रुपए की कोई चीज खरीदने है, लेकिन money available is in denomination of 10 rupees only. How will I be able to buy that 8 rupees thing? अगर minimum denomination 5 rupees का है या 10 rupees का है, तो मैं 8 रुपए की चीज कैसे खरीदूंगा? देयर मस्ट बी सम मिनिमम डिविजिबिलिटी. अगर 1 रुपए का सिक्का नहीं होगा या 2 रुपए का सिक्का नहीं होगा, देन मेनी कॉम्बिनेशंस वुड आइदर बी इम्पॉसिबल और वेरी डिफिकल्ट. आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू बाय मनी, आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू बाय गुड्स which are not multiples of let's say 10 or 5 either easily or they would be impossible to buy. Fine. So this is meant by easily divisible. It should be easily broken down into smaller denominations. Be difficult to counterfeit. Again, very important property of money, that it should be difficult to counterfeit. 100 rupees note. If Pakistan makes 100 rupees note simply by printing those 100 rupees in a printer और उसको इंडियन इकोनॉमी के अंदर घुसा देता है, that means goods of Indian economy, somebody would accept that counterfeit note, would sell real goods to some person, and that person will give a fake note to that person. So I have given something worth real value, whereas I have not received something which can be guaranteed. अब वो 100 रुपए का नोट अगर मैं बैंक लेके जाता हूं, बैंक विल tell me by this is not a real note, this is a counterfeit note, hence this will not be deposited. If I give that 100 rupees note to an ice cream wala will say this is a fake note, therefore this will not be accepted. So for me, I have paid real value to somebody, real value goods to somebody, but I have received a fake note, simply a piece of paper. So very important property of money is it should be difficult to counterfeit. ठीक है, अब समझ में आ गया शांतनु? Others also, two important properties of money, divisible and difficult to counterfeit. Is not this statement wrong? Soft money is high in supply but low in demand because people in most of the times need soft money to buy commodities. Therefore, the demand of soft money is not low. मैं समझा नहीं क्या क्वेश्चन था. Is not this statement wrong? Soft money is high in supply but low in demand because people in most of the times need soft money to buy commodities. Therefore, the demand of soft money is not low. Shantanu, थोड़ा formulate इसको ठीक से करो. I am not able to understand. I am really sorry, unable to understand your point. In the context of transaction demand, if money, we take PQ is equals to Y. Do we take P as price level of base year like what we used to take for real GDP calculation, or price level of that year for which Y, that is GDP, is being calculated? ठीक है, बताता हूं इसका आंसर. वैभव का क्वेश्चन है, सर इन MV is equals to PQ, where V is velocity of money, which means number of times money exchange hands in CRT in economy. Don't you think that here this V should be equal to number of time money exchange hands for purchase of final goods and services only, not of intermediate good, while calculating GDP? As the same we have assumed earlier by taking transactional demand proportional to GDP not equal to I. Vaibhav and Shantanu, आप दोनों का क्वेश्चन मैं एड्रेस करता हूं regarding what we discussed last time. Anyone, everybody, kindly pay attention here. So to recap what we did last time, quickly, very brief recap, we discussed transaction demand. हमने transaction demand discuss करी थी. Transaction demand, we discussed transaction demand of money. ठीक है? MDT, transaction demand of money. This is what we discussed, and we discussed that this is proportional to, transaction demand is proportional to value of transactions, remember? And we discussed that value of transactions is proportional to value of nominal GDP. Shantanu, आपका क्वेश्चन आंसर हो गया होगा. Value of transactions is proportional to nominal GDP. The proportionality constant that we use was K times value of nominal GDP. Price level multiplied by output level. Price level of current year. किसकी बात हम कर रहे हैं? We are talking about nominal GDP multiplied by output level. Output. I think I wrote Q last time. MV is equals to PQ लिखा था मैंने. So I told you, I clarified कि Q लिखो चाहे Y लिखो. Important thing is what are you measuring here? You are measuring output. You are measuring output, or basically when you say real GDP, हम real GDP measure कर रहे हैं. 1 upon K is equals to V. Therefore, V times MDT is equals to K is equals to PY. Price level multiplied by output level. This was our equation that we discussed. Transaction demand of money. I hope everybody remembers. To address your question, Vaibhav, last time I emphasized it a lot. NCERT में MDT is directly proportional to nominal GDP. ये चीज लिखी है. MDT is directly proportional to value of transactions. I told you in the last class. Everybody, kindly listen. Value of transactions will include transactions on final goods and transactions on intermediate goods. Both of transactions would be included. However, we can assume that value of transactions, total value of transactions, would also be proportional to value of nominal GDP. So value of transaction, which comprises of both final and intermediate good, we are simply stating that this is also proportional to value of nominal GDP. तो हम केवल proportional, क्योंकि proportional है, the only thing that will change, अगर हम इसको is equals to K into V times TX करते हैं, या 1 upon K times TX करते हैं, फिर 1 upon K times nominal GDP करते हैं, the only thing that is going to change is the value of K. जो कांस्टेंट है, जिस थिंग विच इज कांस्टेंट, द ओनली थिंग दैट इज गोइंग टू चेंज द वैल्यू ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर कांस्टेंट. So the basic idea behind our equation will not change. The basic idea will still remain the same, that transaction demand of money in the economy is proportional to value of nominal GDP. At what rate it is proportional, what is the proportionality constant, just that constant will change. So the basic idea still remains the same. Idea में कुछ change नहीं हुआ है, केवल value of proportionality constant change हुई है. ठीक है? So this is our equation. Last question. Aditya is asking, sir, what is that asset monetization pipeline? It was recently in news. आपकी क्लास में तो लास्ट टाइम शायद किसी ने पूछा था एसेट मोनेटाइजेशन पाइपलाइन के ऊपर. Somebody asked about greenfield and brownfield assets. I think it was in your class. I think I've discussed this thing. Asset monetization का मतलब क्या है? For example, Government of India has lot of assets, railways for example. अब railway station is a property of Government of India. Railway line is the property of Government of India. Land besides railway line is the property of Government of India. Monetization of asset का मतलब क्या है? रेलवे लाइन के पास वाला जो लैंड है उस पे अगर होर्डिंग लग जाएगा, उस पे अगर किसी कंपनी की एडवर्टाइजमेंट का होर्डिंग लग जाएगा, सो नाउ दैट कंपनी इज यूटिलाइजिंग दैट लैंड एंड पेइंग मनी टू द गवर्नमेंट. Now this asset, which is land of Government of India, is being used to generate income for government, to generate money for government. This is called as monetization. So government is identifying which assets it has that can be monetized. Now government has buildings, real estate at primary locations in almost all the metro cities. Can that real estate be used, for example, for advertisement purposes? Can government lend out? Government के पास कई सारा खाली स्पेस पड़ा हुआ है, कई सारे क्वार्टर गवर्नमेंट के हो सकता है खाली पड़े हो, कोई ऑफिसेज अबैंडन्ड पड़े हो. कैन गवर्नमेंट लेंड आउट दोज ऑफिसेज टू दी हाईएस्ट बिडर, जो भी उसको ऑफिस को यूज करना चाह रहा है. आई वांट टू सेट अप माय कंपनी, आई वांट ऑफिस फॉर दैट, आई वुड, गवर्नमेंट हैज अ वेकेंट स्पेस, गवर्नमेंट विल उसको रेंट के ऊपर चढ़ाएगी. सो गवर्नमेंट इज ट्राइंग टू मोनेटाइज दोज एसेट्स. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज एसेट मोनेटाइजेशन. Shreya का question, sir, I have read in an article regarding new SEBI Regulations Act which talk about swept equity. Could you please explain what is this swept equity? Is it swept equity or is it sweet equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity मेरे को पता है, swept equity मेरे को श्रेया नहीं पता है. You have written SWEPT and P and A are a little bit far on keyboard, so I'll assume that you have not made a typing mistake. I don't know what swept equity is. Swept equity मुझे नहीं पता. I'll have a look at it after the class. उसके बाद मैं देख के बता सकता हूं आपको. I know what sweat is. Sweat equity मेरे को पता है. Sweat equity होती है जो employees को share दिया जाता है. For example, Unacademy recently announced that they are going to give all the educators on Unacademy who have been there for 3 years, they are going to give stock options. तो अगर आपने Unacademy के लिए पसीना बहाया है तो Unacademy is going to give you shareholding in the company. This is called as sweat equity. Employees, when they get a proportion of a company's share, why? Because employees have sweat for the company. That is why this is called sweat equity. Chalo, let us start, everybody. Let us start. Fine. I had to discuss a few questions today regarding inflation, but I have not yet received. I'm sorry, I did not check actually. मैंने last 2-3 घंटे में check नहीं किया है. If a file was sent to me, then I've forgotten to check it. But I was supposed to discuss a few questions on inflation before we began the class today. Anyways, we'll discuss some questions on inflation in the next class. Previous years UPSC questions plus some questions from Vision Test Series we'll discuss. 10-12 क्वेश्चन डिस्कस करेंगे इन्फ्लेशन के. इन्फ्लेशन very very important topic, and when we would have covered some part of monetary policy, then it would be apt for us to discuss inflation. तो हम इन्फ्लेशन के questions next class में, if you have gotten the file, kindly attempt all those questions. I may have got the file, but I am really sorry, I have forgotten to check. अभी मैंने पिछले 1-2 घंटे में चेक नहीं करी, तो आई डोंट नो वेदर आई हैव गॉट इट और नॉट. एनीवेज, सो वील डिस्कस क्वेश्चंस ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, 10-12 क्वेश्चंस प्रीवियस ईयर प्लस सम विजन क्वेश्चंस इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास. आज हम क्लास स्टार्ट करते हैं अपनी. वी वर डिस्कसिंग स्पेक्युलेटिव डिमांड ऑफ मनी. speculative demand of money, speculative demand of money. ठीक है? We had discussed transaction demand and we had begun with a discussion on speculative demand. So what was speculative demand? Speculative demand was, we discussed that there is some sort of speculation. Speculation matlab you are betting on a certain outcome. That is what speculation is. You are speculating on something means you are betting on a certain outcome. Betting on certain outcome means there is some kind of probability. Kuch probability attached. There is no certainty about an occurrence of, there is no certainty about occurrence of an event. There is some sort of probability attached to it. What is the event that we are speculating on? What is the event that we are essentially betting on? What is that event which has certain probability to occur in future? And based on our connotation, based on our expectations, we take some decisions today. कुछ चीज है जो फ्यूचर में होनी है. There is something which will happen in future. I have different expectation, you have different expectation, and we will take a decision regarding that thing which is supposed to happen in future today. क्या होगा? Nobody knows, but we both have some expectations about future. We take some decisions. Those decisions are speculative decisions. So what is there in speculative demand for money? क्या होती है speculative demand for money? This concept of speculative demand for money is particular to Keynes. Keynes ने इस चीज के ऊपर काफी बात करी थी. John Maynard Keynes. We have talked about Keynes earlier also when we talked about Keynesian unemployment. It is not necessary for me to tell you that Keynes talked about speculative demand for money. We can do without that also. But just for information, Keynes was the one who talked about this speculative demand. So what is this speculative demand for money? क्या चीज है ये? Briefly हमने last time discuss कर लिया था that you have some money, where will you like to keep it? Would you like to keep it in your pocket as cash, or would you like to keep it in as money in your bank account, or in your FD, or in some kind of asset? Would you like to buy land? Land will appreciate or depreciate in future. So what will you try to do with that money? So we discussed what speculation was. Basically you are betting on some kind of outcome. तो आज हम इस चीज को और डिटेल में डिस्कस करते हैं. Wealth of a person. Wealth of a person. Everybody please pay attention here. It's going to be really interesting discussion. आराम से करेंगे. Wealth of a person. Let's call wealth of a person as WH. Wealth. Wealth of a person is equals to how much money do I possess today in total. आज मेरे पास टोटल कितना पैसा है? Is equals to money plus assets. This is my wealth, money that I have and assets that I possess. ये मेरी total wealth की value है. This is my total wealth. This is the total value of my wealth. Please सब लोग ध्यान देना. आसान चीज है. आसान. It's really easy. We'll be able to. I'm sure that all of us will be able to clearly understand it. The wealth of a person is equals to money plus assets. Fine. Now, take for example, I earn 50,000 rupees. I earn 50,000 rupees per month. This 50,000 rupees is required for transaction purposes. Transaction purposes के लिए I require 20,000 rupees per month. For some emergency purpose, I set aside 5,000 rupees per month. Emergency के लिए I am setting aside 5,000 rupees per month. And remaining is 25,000 rupees. बचा हुआ कितना है? 25,000 रुपए. So let us say this month I have 50,000 rupees with me. I need 20,000 for my transactions. This is my transaction demand. 5,000 rupees I set aside for emergency purposes. So let us include it as part of transaction demand. ये भी मेरे transaction demand का part है. Emergency demand, ठीक है? And remaining I have 25,000 rupees. Now I have a question in my mind that what should I do with this money? इससे मैं क्या करूं? 25,000 रुपए हैं. What should I do with this money? Should I spend it? Should I save it? Should I keep it as cash? Should I buy some stock? Should I buy some bond? Should I invest it in land? what should I do with this 25,000 rupees is the question that I am faced. And this question is there in front of me every month. तो अब मैं इन 25,000 rupees को किस तरीके से यूज करूंगा? How will I use? Let's see mathematically. I have got two options. I have got two options for investing, or let me say keeping the excess money. Please mind the term that I've used, excess money. I have got two options. क्या हो गया? Are you facing problems? Are you facing problems in watching the video, people? People, please pay attention. It's a really important discussion that we are having. I'll wait for 2 minutes. I'll wait for 30-40 seconds. जिसको refresh करना है, refresh कर लो. Browser close करके open करना है, open कर लो. I'll wait for 30 seconds. I don't want you to be distracted in these technical issues. चलो ठीक है, if it's fine then let's discuss. चलो ठीक है, it's okay, we'll discuss. We have got two options for investing or keeping our excess money. Please mind the use of term that I'm using here, excess. This is money which I am using for my transaction purposes. ये 20,000 plus 5,000 I've kept as some reserve fund. इसको मैं नहीं छू रहा हूं, emergency में काम आएगा. Now I have 25,000 rupees of excess money. There are broadly two options in front of me to use this 25,000 rupees. आसान से दो option. One option is to keep it in bank, let's say savings bank account, or to invest it somewhere. I've got two options, either to keep my money in savings bank account or to invest it somewhere. Please listen. This is not speculative. ये वाला decision, आपको लग रहा है कि यहां पे मैं decision ले रहा हूं, I'm taking a decision here that I've got two options, either to keep money in bank or to keep money in, or to invest my money somewhere. This is not speculation that we are talking about. अभी तक speculative demand नहीं आई है. मैं केवल अभी we are just starting with speculative demand. This decision is not yet speculation. I'm just explaining. So you have got two options to put your excess money. One is you keep it in bank, another is you keep it somewhere else. In bank, the money is safe, liquid, but low interest, but earns a low interest. If you keep money in your bank, saving bank account, it is safe, it is liquid, as in it is accessible to you when you demand it. Demand money hai, you can access it quite easily. Not as easily as cash, but almost as easily. But it earns a low interest. Whereas if you invest it somewhere else, let it be somewhere else, land, bonds, stocks, कहीं पे भी invest करते हैं. If you invest it somewhere else, then it is less safe, very less liquid, but earns a higher interest. A little bit less safe, certainly very less liquid, but earns a much higher interest as compared to keeping your money in bank account. As far as safety is concerned, safety वाला जो aspect है, let us for the time being remove this aspect of safety. Safety वाला aspect हटा देते हैं. Let us assume that investment is safe. Safe का मतलब क्या है कि fraud वाला angle नहीं है. Let us assume this thing. We can रैशनली एज्यूम, हम सही इकोनॉमिक्स की बात करें, वी कैन रैशनली एज्यूम कि फ्रॉड वाला एंगल नहीं, आप मनी कहीं इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, nobody is going to run away with your money. Let us assume this, that as far as safety is concerned, it is safe. But naturally, there is lot of risk involved. Risk का मतलब, I am not equating safety and risk together. I hope you get this point. By safe, I mean that there is no chance of somebody tampering with your money, somebody running away with your money. There is certainly a chance of your investment not materializing according to your expectation. But that is risk element. This is less risky or zero risk almost, but this is more risky. You invest your money you invest your money somewhere, there is risk involved. Safety nahi, there is risk involved. You put your money in bank account, there is almost zero risk involved, completely zero. बस बैंक फेल हो जाएगा, बस वो रिस्क है, अदरवाइज कोई और रिस्क नहीं है. But more than that, there is no risk. So almost zero risk involved here. So you have got two options, either to keep money in bank or to keep money or to invest your money somewhere. Now, in bank you will earn, let's say in bank you earn 5% interest. मान लेते हैं बैंक में आप 5% इंटरेस्ट अर्न करोगे when you deposit your money in your bank account. Whereas if you invest it somewhere else, let us assume that you will earn a 10% interest rate. मान लेते हैं 10% इंटरेस्ट आप अर्न करोगे. Now, it can be argued that after meeting your transactions demand, when your entire transaction demand and your emergency demand has been met, तो 25,000 rupees आपके पास हैं out of 50,000, when your entire transaction and emergency demand has been met, the excessive amount of money that you hold, there is no reason why anybody would not want to earn a higher interest rate and earn only a lower interest rate. This 25,000 rupees, this transaction and emergency purposes, this is the money that you keep in bank account. Why? Because it is liquid and therefore you need it. तो ये जो 25,000 rupees थे, this 20,000 transaction plus emergency purpose 5,000, this is the money which you keep in your bank account. You will not need 25,000 on first day, you will need it over a month. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि 20,000 रुपए का ट्रांजैक्शन डिमांड है तो पहले दिन ही 20,000 खर्च कर देना है. You will need it over 1 month, for example. It doesn't make sense to keep 20,000 as cash in your pocket. It makes sense to keep 20,000 in bank account and withdraw slowly. तो जितने दिन के लिए वो पैसा बैंक में डिपॉजिट रहेगा उतने दिन के लिए आप इंटरेस्ट अर्न करते रहोगे. So it makes sense to keep this much amount of money in bank, but it doesn't make sense to hold excessive amount of money in bank. Why? Because when you hold money in excess of your transaction demand, then you are losing out on this interest. The additional interest that you earn, you are losing out on this. इसके ऊपर आप lose कर रहे हो. So it will not make sense to keep your money in a bank account when you can invest it somewhere and earn an interest rate of 10%. It doesn't make sense to keep it in bank account. It makes sense that you invest your money somewhere and earn this higher rate of interest. Therefore, as I said, this is not the decision that we are talking about. इन दोनों में choice करना, इस decision की हम बात नहीं करने हैं. There is no speculation going on here that should I keep my money here or should I keep my money here. It makes perfectly rational sense. A rational human being, a rational person will not keep excess money in bank, rather will like to keep excess money invested somewhere where this person will earn more rate of interest. However, यहां तक सबको समझ में आना चाहिए, easy चीज है. However, the avenues of investment are limited. Avenues of investment are limited. This is the most important line. Avenues of investment are limited. There is no limit on money that can be kept in savings bank account, but there is a limit to avenues where you can invest your money. Let us assume all different types of investment into one broad category and call them bonds. उनको हम bond बोल देते हैं. क्या होते हैं बॉन्ड, मैं बताने वाला हूं. What I have said is there are various investment avenues. What can you do with this excess money? You can lend it to someone. Excess money है, इसको आप lend कर सकते हो and earn interest. This is something that you can do. You can buy some company, जो एक्स्ट्रा पैसा है उससे आप कुछ कंपनी, buy some companies shares from this money. You can buy gold, you can buy land. Multiple avenues of investment exist. कई सारे avenues हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट के. आप लैंड खरीदो, किसी को लेंड करो पैसा, कोई कंपनी के शेयर्स खरीदो, गोल्ड खरीदो. There are multiple avenues of investment. Rather than going into all these different avenues of investment, what I've assumed is one broad category of investment called bond. I've assumed one category that you have an option either to put your money in a savings bank account, or other option is either you put your money in a bond. Now, let us pause for a minute our discussion on speculative demand, and for next 5 minutes let's understand what a bond is. Bond क्या होता है 5 मिनट में समझते हैं. Bond की definition क्या है? Bond is पिछले पेज पे क्यों? What is a bond? Bond is a debt instrument. Bond की definition, whenever you hear the term bond, think about not James Bond but bond as a debt instrument. Bond क्या है? Bond is a debt instrument. Everybody please pay attention. Bond क्या है? Bond is a debt instrument. मतलब क्या हुआ debt instrument का? Debt instrument का मतलब बहुत सिंपल सा है. There is, let's say, government, and there is a person, me. Government wants to spend money, but government doesn't have enough money to spend. Therefore, government decides to borrow money from people. Government decides to borrow money from banks. Government decides to borrow money from RBI. Reliance Industry wants to spend money. For example, Reliance Industry को नया प्लांट कहीं बनाना है. Reliance Industry wants to build a new plant. कोई नई टेक्नोलॉजी है, Reliance Industry को नई चीज इन्वेस्ट करनी है. So for that, Reliance Industry needs money. So Reliance Industry says, okay, I'll go to the public to fetch money. लोगों से पैसा उधार लेते हैं. Let us take money. Let us borrow money from people. Naturally, you will pay interest on the money that you have borrowed. Government says that we want to spend money, but we don't have enough money, so let us borrow money from people. लोगों से पैसा ले लेते हैं. Let us borrow money from people. आम जनता से ले सकते हैं, बैंक्स से ले सकते हैं, RBI से, other financial institutions से, किसी कंपनी से. Government can take money from anybody, can take money from anywhere. Simply the condition is the lending person must be willing to lend. So government can take money from anywhere. So government says we will borrow money. Government says we will borrow money. Borrow. सरकार क्या बोली है? हम मनी बोरो करेंगे. वी विल बोरो मनी फ्रॉम पब्लिक. सो आई पे 1000 rupees to the government. I have paid 1000 rupees to the government, and government, while taking money from me, has said that we will pay you a 10% interest rate. 10% interest rate आपको हम पे करेंगे. And this money has been borrowed for a time period of 2 years. 2 साल के लिए मनी हमने आपसे बोरो किया है. We have borrowed 1000 rupees from you at the rate of 10% interest rate for a period of 2 years. ये सब इंफॉर्मेशन एक कागज के टुकड़े पे लिखी होगी. All this information will be written on a piece of paper. A piece of paper. On this piece of paper, it will be written bond issuer, Government of India. How much money has been borrowed? 1000 rupees. For how much time? At the rate of 10%. For how much? At what rate of interest? 10%. For how much time? For 2 years. For 2 years. This piece of paper is nothing but a bond. ये piece of paper एक bond कहलाता है. It is simply a proof that government has borrowed this much money at this rate of interest for this much time period. It is simply a proof that this person has borrowed money from somebody at this rate of interest for this much time period. This is what a bond is. Bond क्या है? समझ में आया क्या है? Bond is a debt instrument. Bond is a debt instrument. A debt instrument. Bond is a debt instrument. It is issued, issuer, Government of India. Government of India is the issuer of bond. Issuer of bond is the borrower of money. Borrower of money. बॉन्ड पे नाम किसका है? इशुअर का नाम है. द एंटिटी हु हैज इशूड, who has printed this piece of paper, who has issued Government of India, who has borrowed money. Government of India has borrowed money, and while borrowing money, it has issued a bond to the lender. I lent money to Government of India. Government of India took 1000 rupees from me and gave me this piece of paper. तो इस कागज के टुकड़े पे क्या लिखा है? This कागज के टुकड़े पे लिखा है that who is the issuer. It has a face value. Face value मतलब amount borrowed. Amount borrowed. It has a interest rate, meaning price or cost at which money is borrowed. Money is borrowed. And it has a maturity. Maturity meaning time period. Time period of borrowing. What a bond is, I sincerely hope it is absolutely clear to everybody कि bond क्या है. It has a issuer, face value, interest rate and maturity. तो गवर्नमेंट ने बॉन्ड इशू किया एंड आई परचेज दैट बॉन्ड. I now have this bond with me. What do I have? I have this bond. What does government has? Government has 1000 rupees. And government is obliged to pay me this rate of interest for 2 years period. Bond क्या है सबको समझ में आ गया? So think about it like this. Now coming back to our discussion on speculative demand. So you had two options, either to put your money in a savings bank account or to invest it somewhere. And all our investment avenues we have clubbed into one single type of investment avenue called bonds. So what a bond is? This is a bond. So bond is paying me 10% interest. I am lending money to Government of India. I can lend money. ये सरकारी बॉन्ड है, कॉर्पोरेट बॉन्ड भी हो सकता है. रिलायंस इंडस्ट्री comes out with a bond, that is a corporate bond. So I have lent money to Government of India, government bond, and government is obliged to pay me a rate of 10% every year on this amount that I have lent to them. Is this clear? So two options जो मेरे पास थे, options again I'll write it here. Option one was savings bank account. Option two was a government bond, is a government bond. Savings bank account pays me 5% interest, whereas government bond pays me 10% interest. So any rational person would like to keep his money in a government bond rather than keeping this money in a savings bank account. But as I said, the most important line was investment avenues. Investment avenues are limited. That is, for example, government bonds are limited in number. गवर्नमेंट को मान लेते हैं, गवर्नमेंट हैड टू बोरो 1 crore rupees. 1 crore rupees to be borrowed by a government. To be borrowed by government. Therefore, how many bonds will government issue? कितने बॉन्ड सरकार लेके आएगी? 1 crore divided by 1000. 1000 रुपए का एक बॉन्ड है. So if government sells one bond, government receives 1000 rupees. So 1 crore rupees का one bond है, 1000 rupees. I'm sorry, 1000 rupees का one bond है, and government requires 1 crore rupees. जब 1 crore रुपए require हैं, so how many bonds will government buy? Government will issue 1000, 10, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 1 crore. Government will issue 1000 bond. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. कितना हुआ? 1, 2. 10,000 bonds. Government will issue 10,000 bonds if one bond's cost is 1,000 rupees. So the number of bonds in the market are 10,000. 10,000 बॉन्ड मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 1,000 इज इक्वल टू 1 करोड़. तो 1 करोड़ के बॉन्ड्स ये हो गए सरकार के पास. सो नंबर ऑफ बॉन्ड्स इन द मार्केट वुड बी 10,000, वेयर एज द एवेन्यू ऑफ सेविंग्स बैंक अकाउंट इज अनलिमिटेड. You take money to savings bank account and bank will keep on accepting it. There is no limit to how much money can be deposited in your bank account. But the number of bonds that can be bought is limited. Here comes the question. If government bond is offering 10% return, whereas savings bond is offering 5% return, and the number of government bonds is limited है, 10,000 है, 1,000 है, 1 लाख है, point is limited. Number of government bonds are limited. That means investment avenues are limited in number. If they are limited in number, that means everyone will rush to buy these bonds. Everyone is going to rush to buy these bonds. Limited number है तो everybody is going to rush to buy these bonds. Why? Because everybody wants कि भाई I should earn 10% on my excessive money. Why should I earn 5%? And if everybody rushes to buy these bonds, what will happen? केवल 10,000 बॉन्ड ही है मार्केट में बिकने के लिए. That means entire economy, 10,000 bond, if only 10,000 bonds are there in the market, that means very few people will be able to get their hands on this bond, on the number of bonds. Let's say I purchase 15 bond, तो मैंने खुद ही खरीद लिए, 15 bonds I have purchased, so therefore I possess 50, I have lent 15,000 rupees to the government because I have purchased 15 bonds. So number of people who would be able to buy bonds would be very less. Now what would happen? Because everyone is rushing to buy these bonds, bonds will exhaust immediately. As soon as they are launched, they would be exhausted immediately. Now what will happen? Bonds, everybody rushes to buy bonds. Bonds are exhausted. Bonds are exhausted immediately bonds are completely exhausted. Only a very few people have been able to get their hands on these bonds. Now what happens? Now people who could not get bonds, will offer to buy those bonds at a higher price. Those who have not been able to get their hands on bonds, they will now offer higher money to a person who possesses the bond. How much higher price? कितना ज्यादा price? This is something which I asked you to read from NCERT. Present value का concept. What is the present value of money? Take for example, you have got 100 rupees. आपके पास 100 रुपए हैं. And there are two options. One option pays you 5% interest. Another option pays you 10% interest. That means after 1 year, एक साल के बाद, this 100 rupees if invested here, if put in savings bank account, will become 100 plus 5. 100 rupees invested after 1 year at this rate of 10% will become 100 plus 10, 100 plus 10. This will be 105 rupees after 1 year. This will be 110 rupees after 1 year. Now think about it. If this avenue of investment is limited, अगर ये limited है, how much money will a person, listen very very carefully, how much money will a person who has 100 rupees be willing to pay to a person who has this instrument, जिसके पास ये asset है? Listen very carefully everybody, I'll repeat this line again. 100 rupees is available with me and I have a default option. Everybody in the economy has default option that you can go and invest this money in a savings bank account and earn 5% interest. But द इन्वेस्टमेंट एवेन्यू ऑफ दिस 10% एसेट, जो 10% एसेट दे रहा है, ये वाले बहुत लिमिटेड है, एंड देयर आर ओनली फ्यू पीपल इन द इकोनॉमी हु पोजेस दीज एसेट्स. बहुत ही कम लोग हैं जिनके पास ये 10% वाला इंस्ट्रूमेंट है. मान लेते हैं मैं एक ऐसा व्यक्ति हूं, आई एम दैट पर्सन हु पोजेसेस दिस इंस्ट्रूमेंट विच गिव्स 10% रिटर्न. You don't have this instrument, but I have this instrument. Now, you also want to earn this 10%. आप भी ये 10% कमाना चाहते हो. Now, you will be willing to pay me some more money than 100 rupees to buy this instrument from me. For example, if you pay 101 rupees, अगर आप 101 रुपए मुझे पे करते हो, if you pay 101 rupees, what will be your return? What will be your return? कितना आप earn करोगे? आपने मुझे 101 रुपया दिया, how much will you earn? एक साल के बाद तो आप 110 ही earn करने वाले हो. You are going to earn 100 plus 10. You have paid 1 rupees extra to me. आपने मुझे 1 रुपया एक्स्ट्रा पे किया है. गवर्नमेंट को तो 100 रुपए मिल चुके हैं. Government, it issued the bond for how much rupees? Government issued the bond for 100 rupees. I have purchased bond from the government for 100 rupees. Now I can sell that bond for 100, 105, 110, 120, 95, 80. सरकार को तो उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा ना. अब वो बॉन्ड मेरे पास है. Now I have that bond. Government has borrowed 100. Government will pay interest on 100, the amount that it has borrowed. गवर्नमेंट डजंट केयर कि आप मेरे पास आए और आपने मेरे से वो बॉन्ड 110 रुपए का खरीदा, तो गवर्नमेंट आपको 110 रुपए पे 10% इंटरेस्ट थोड़ी ना देगी. गवर्नमेंट विल नॉट पे यू 10% इंटरेस्ट ऑन 110 रुपीज. इट विल स्टिल पे इंटरेस्ट ऑन द अमाउंट ऑफ मनी विच इट हैज बोरोड, नॉट हाउ मच यू हैव पेड. बाय, बिकॉज यू हैव पेड 10 रुपीज एक्स्ट्रा टू मी, नॉट टू द गवर्नमेंट. सो इफ यू पे मी 101 रुपीज, then also this instrument will give a return of 110. Therefore, effective return, effective earning for you will be how much? Effectively you are earning 110 minus 101, that is 9 rupees. Effectively आप 9 रुपए earn कर रहे हो. If you pay me 102 rupees, effectively you will earn 8 rupees. If you pay me 104 rupees, effectively you will earn 6 rupees. अगर आप मेरे को 105 रुपए पे कर रहे हो, effectively you will earn 5 rupees. If you are paying me 106 rupees, then again total amount of money which you will earn will still be 110, but effectively you will now earn only 4 rupees. अब आप 4 रुपए earn करोगे. Now think about it like this. Does it make sense for you to pay me 106 rupees when you can pay 100 rupees here and earn 5 rupees interest here? आप बैंक में ही पैसा लगा के 5 रुपए अर्न कर सकते हो. जब इफ यू कैन अर्न 5 rupees by putting your money in bank, does it make sense for you to give me 106 rupees and earn only 4 rupees? Obviously it does not. Under what circumstance will you be willing to buy this bond from me? You don't have this bond, I have this bond. I have this instrument, you don't have it. It will be beneficial for you to purchase this instrument only and only when I sell it to you at a price less than 105. 105 रुपए से कम में अगर मैं आपको बेचूं, if I sell this instrument to you for a price less than 105, only then will you be benefited. If I sell it to 104, sell it to you for 104, effectively you will earn 6 rupees, 6 रुपए कमाओगे. You are still better off than investing your money in savings bank or not? अगर आपने 104 रुपए में भी मेरे से खरीदा, even if you purchase it for 104 rupees from me, then also you will earn 6 rupees, which is still better than earning 5 rupees in savings bank account. So you are still better off or not? If you buy it from me at 105, you will now earn 5 rupees, exactly same as equivalent to what you were earning in a savings bank account. So at 105, neither you are worse off nor you are better off. 105 रुपए पे जब आप मेरे से खरीद रहे हो, when you are buying this instrument from me at 105, neither are you worse off as compared to putting your money in savings bank, nor are you better off as compared to putting your money in savings bank. So you are completely equivalent at 105. लेकिन 105 से नीचे you are profitable, 105 के ऊपर you are at loss. If I sell it to you for 106, you have made a mistake, you have made a fool out of yourself, क्योंकि यहां पे अब आप केवल 4 रुपए कमा रहे हो, यहां पे आप 5 रुपए कमा लेते. So it makes sense for you as a buyer of this bond from me, it makes sense for you to buy it from me at a price less than 105. Absolutely clear to everybody? What about me as a seller? अगर आप एक buyer हो, if you are one buyer, there are other buyers also. By number of people who possess these bonds are less and number of people who want to buy these bonds are more. केवल 10,000 bonds, only 10,000 bonds were there in the market. So there are only few people who possess these bonds, whereas number of people willing to buy these bonds are very high. If you are willing to pay me 103 rupees, अगर आप मेरे को 103 रुपए देना चाह रहे हो, there would always be somebody who would be willing to pay me 104 rupees. वो बोलेगा यार आप उसको 103 में क्यों बेच रहे हो, मैं आपको 104 रुपए देता हूं. That person would still be benefited at 104 because he is earning 6 rupees. You will not get the bond. Why? Because you are offering me only 103. I would like to sell it at maximum price. भाई मैं तो चाहता हूं ये बॉन्ड आप मेरे से खरीदो और जितना मैक्सिमम पैसा देना हो आप मेरे को दे सकते हो. So my intention in this transaction is to sell it to you at as much price as possible. Your intention is to buy it from me at as low price as possible. At what rate would equilibrium price of bond reach? Exactly at 105 or not? Exactly at 105. This bond will now be sold in the market for 105 rupees only. Why? Because below 105 rupees, there would always be a buyer who is willing to pay me more than that. Above 105 rupees, there is no buyer who is willing to pay me that money. 104.5 rupees का अगर मैं बॉन्ड बेचूं, if I want to sell it for 104.5, somebody else would come and say, take 104.6 rupees from me. Somebody else would come and say, take 104.7 rupees from me. Take 104.8 rupees from me. So there would always be somebody who would be willing to buy this bond from me at a price below 105. Just below 105 तक हमेशा कोई ना कोई buyer होगा. And above 105, there would be no buyer. Why? Because it doesn't make sense for a person to buy bond at a price higher when you can get more rate of interest in this risk-free instrument of savings bank account. So at equilibrium, because the number of buyers are many, sellers are less, at equilibrium, the price of bond in the market will immediately be increased to 105 rupees. एकदम से बॉन्ड 105 रुपए का हो जाएगा. The price of bond will reach 105 rupees immediately in the market just after it is launched. Why? Because of the 5% interest rate differential that the bond pays over and above the safe investment, which is savings bank. Savings bank is giving 5%, bond is giving 10%. Therefore, bond will immediately become costly. Bond will immediately be in demand. There is a high demand for bond and hence price of bond will immediately increase. To what level? Price of bond will increase to level of 105 rupees. At equilibrium, bond will be sold in the market at the price when it is equally favorable to invest money in a savings bank account. It will not be sold for a price higher, not be sold for a price lower, but it will be sold exactly at this price. तो बॉन्ड का प्राइस इमीडिएटली मार्केट में कितना हो जाएगा? 105 rupees. Is this part clear to everybody? I sincerely hope it should be clear to everyone. I'll quickly recap what we have discussed. सुनो ध्यान से, हमने क्या क्या डिस्कस किया बच्चों? हमने डिस्कस किया that we have got two options to put our money. We are discussing speculative demand for money. In speculative demand for money, we discussed that we have got two broad options to put our money in. We have got one, a safe but low paying instrument of savings bank, whereas we have got a less risky and low paying instrument of savings bank account, whereas on the other hand we have got a little bit more risky but higher return paying instrument of a government bond. But we have discussed what a government bond is. Bond is a debt instrument. Debt instrument meaning that it simply signifies that somebody has taken money from somebody else. Government bond, government has taken money from somebody else. Who is the issuer of the bond? Who is issuing the bond? Issuer of the bond is somebody who has borrowed money. That person is the issuer. Holder of the bond, somebody who holds the bond at present. जिसके पास bond है वो holder है. I am the holder of the bond. I possess the bond today. Government is the issuer of the bond. Issuer means government has issued this bond. That means government has borrowed the money. Bond is issued by an entity. That means money is borrowed by that entity at some rate of interest for some time period. Maturity period जिसको हम बोलते हैं. But the number of bonds in the market or the number of investment avenues are limited in number, and therefore if this investment avenue pays a higher rate of interest as compared to the safe avenue of savings bank account, say if this government bond, the investment avenue, pays a higher rate of interest, then rationally it may be expected that everybody would like to keep their excess money, their excess wealth in this government bond rather than putting it in savings bank account. But because this is limited and everybody wants this, therefore its demand will immediately increase. Its demand increases, therefore it will be sold at a higher price. Its price will increase. Bond can be sold in the market. I have assumed this thing. Bond market में sell किया जाते हैं. If I have purchased bond from the government, I can certainly sell it to anybody else. गवर्नमेंट मेरी बजाय अब उसको इंटरेस्ट पे करेगी, उसने किसी और को भेज दिया, सरकार अब उसको इंटरेस्ट पे करेगी. बॉन्ड होल्डर, बॉन्ड इशुअर कैन नॉट चेंज. द पर्सन हु हैज इशूड द बॉन्ड, उसने ही बॉन्ड इशू किया है. होल्डर कैन सर्टेनली चेंज. आई परचेज द बॉन्ड फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट, आई सोल्ड इट टू यू, यू सोल्ड इट टू somebody else sold it to somebody else, that somebody else sold it back to me. It can, holder of the bond can be anybody. So whoever is holding the bond will earn the interest. जिसके पास बॉन्ड है आज की तारीख में वो इंटरेस्ट अर्न करेगा. So because bond is paying a higher rate of interest, therefore the price of bond will increase. To what level? It will increase to that level when bond becomes equally attractive as compared to the risk-free investment. अभी 1/3 part हुआ है केवल. We have discussed only 1/3 part. अभी भी speculation नहीं आया है. We have not yet entered into the domain of speculation. I hope you are understanding, more importantly enjoying this discussion. I sincerely hope. डिस्कनेक्ट हो रहा है बार बार. चलो, ऐसा नहीं है देयर इज नो बेनिफिट. हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, चिंता मत करो. वी आर डिस्कसिंग एवरीथिंग. सो वी हैव डिस्कस्ड दैट एट इक्विलिब्रियम, एज सून एज बॉन्ड इज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन द मार्केट, एज सून एज बॉन्ड कम्स इन द मार्केट, द प्राइस ऑफ बॉन्ड विल इंक्रीज टू द लेवल ऑफ 105, सो दैट देयर इज नो डिफरेंस for a person to invest his money in savings bank or put his money in a bond. अगर आपने बॉन्ड परचेज नहीं किया, if you have not purchased bond or if you did not possess bond when it was offered, listen very carefully, if you did not possess the bond when it was offered, you did not get the bond when it was offered, then it doesn't make sense for you to buy a bond. Why? Because now anybody who will sell bond will sell it at a price of 105 rupees. And at 105 rupees you are equally better off or worse off. आप 105 रुपए का बॉन्ड खरीदो तब भी आपको 1 साल बाद 5 रुपए मिलने हैं. आप 100 रुपए सेविंग्स बैंक में लगाओ. If you, I'll repeat the same thing in English. You purchase a bond of 105 rupees then also you will get 110 rupees, that is 5 rupees in total at the end of 1 year. You put 100 rupees in savings bank account, then also you will get 5 rupees at the end of 1 year. So you will earn, your earning at the end of 1 year is going to be 5 rupees. This effective earning, listen very carefully, effectively how much you earn, effective, this is the total earning, the total return. This effective earning is called as yield. This is known as yield. I have written here yield, Y-I-E-L-D, yield. Yield is effective earning from a bond, How much do you earn? You buy it at whatever price. You buy it at 90 rupees, 80 rupees, 70 rupees, 50 rupees, 150 rupees. You will still earn at the end of, you will still get at the end of 1 year 110 rupees. जिसने borrow किया है वो आपको 110 रुपए ही देगा. The person who has borrowed will still give you 110 rupees. Why? Because that person borrowed 100 and promised to pay 10% interest rate on 100. So you will get 110 rupees at the end of 1 year. Depending upon what was the price you paid to purchase this instrument. Did you pay 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20? Depending upon what was the price you paid to buy this instrument, there would be a effective earning. If you paid 101, you will get 9 rupees. If you paid 102, you will get 8 rupees. Why? 110 आपको मिलेगा, 102 आपने पे किए थे, difference is 8. 110 आपने, you will get 110, you paid 101, the difference is 9, you will get 9 rupees. You paid 105, you get 110, the difference is 5. This effective earning from a bond is called yield, the concept of yield. So we have discussed 3 things. We have discussed, first, we have tried to understand the concept of savings bank versus bond, a riskless, low interest investment avenue versus a risky but more interest investment avenue. First thing that we discussed. Second thing that we understood is the equilibrium price of bond, that at equilibrium the bond will be sold at a price when it is neither better nor worse off to put your money in a savings bank account. Equilibrium price of bond will be this. And third, we have discussed the concept of yield. Yield meaning the effective earning that you earn from your investment. Effectively, you have paid 105 and you get 110. Effectively, you earn 5 rupees. This is yield, the concept of yield. This is part 1 of our speculative demand. Let's move on to the next important aspect. यहाँ तक I sincerely hope सबको clear है. I'll see your questions in one go. Please hold your questions. अभी रुको, अपने questions को थामो जरा थोड़ी देर के लिए, पूरा कंप्लीट कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद I'll answer your questions. ठीक है? Please. Next part. Current situation, current scenario is that savings bank gives you 5% interest, bond gives you 10% interest, and market value of bond is equals to 105 rupees. 105 रुपए का market value of bond है. This is what we have discussed. This is the present scenario. ठीक है? So now let us say I have purchased this bond for 105 rupees. You have purchased. I had this, मैंने 100 रुपए में खरीदा था, मैंने आपको 5 रुपए प्रॉफिट में बेच दिया. Now let's say you possess this bond for 105 rupees. आपके पास ये bond है and you have possessed it. Let's say person one possesses this bond for 105 rupees. You have purchased it for 105. Your yield is 5 rupees. That is, the earnings that you will get at the end of 1 year are 5 rupees. This is current scenario. Now what happens is, let us say interest rates increase. Interest rates on savings bank. Interest rate on savings bank increase. Savings bank is now offering 6% interest. अब savings bank 6% interest offer कर रहा है. Savings bank is now offering 6% interest. It was offering 5% interest earlier, and now it is offering 6% interest. Interest rates on savings bank increase to 6%. When interest rate on savings bank increase to 6%, market value of bond would be how much? Now, if you go back to the previous slide, now in 1 year, this savings bank is giving you 6% rather 5%. So after 1 year, you will get 100 plus 6. Government bond जो पहले आ चुका था, the bond which had already come in the market, on which government had already promised to pay a 10% interest. ये तो बॉन्ड मार्केट में एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है. दिस बॉन्ड इज एग्जिस्टिंग एट प्रेजेंट इन द मार्केट. इट इज ऑलरेडी देयर. And now what has happened? Now savings bank interest rate has increased to 6% from 5%. What will happen to the present market value of this bond? अब ये bond market में इसकी प्राइस कितनी हो जाएगी? Now at 104 rupees, if you have 104 rupees, if you buy this bond for 104 rupees, then again you will still earn 110 rupees at the end of the year, and therefore your effective earning will be 6 rupees. Effectively you will earn 6 rupees, or yield would be 6 rupees now. जब yield 6 रुपए की है, good that you are answering, good, I understand. Yield would be 6 rupees. Therefore it would make sense for you to buy the bond at max price of 104. Maximum कितना प्राइस दोगे? It is 104 rupees. Maximum you will pay 104. Therefore the price of bond in the market would be how much? 104 रुपए होगा. 104 से नीचे नहीं होगा. Why? Because there would always be somebody ready to pay more than that amount. 104 से ऊपर तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं होगा, because it would not make sense for you to buy this bond for 105 rupees now. If you buy this bond now for 105 rupees, you will earn 5, whereas you could have earned 6 here. So at what price will bond be sold in the market? The bond which was already there, which already existed in the market, this same bond will now be sold for 104 rupees. Now let us come back. You were the one who had purchased this bond. P1 was the person who had purchased this bond already for 105. आपने already 105 का खरीद लिया था. You had already purchased it for 105 rupees. And now market value of bond has decreased to 104 rupees. You purchased this bond for 105, but now market value has decreased to 104 rupees. Therefore, you, that is P1 will suffer capital losses. You had an asset, आपने एक asset था, investment किया, asset खरीदा, but your asset has lost its value from 105 to 104 rupees. Why did your asset lose its value? Because interest rate on savings bank account increased from 5 to 6%. Is this clear or not? I hope all of you can yourself write down the scenario. What will happen if interest rates decrease? Some of you are watching on mobile phone. What will happen if interest rates decrease? If interest rate decreases to 4%, अगर 4% हो जाता है interest rate, then what will happen? Market value of bond will now be 106 rupees. Market value of bond when interest rate is 4% will now be 106 rupees. तो अगर इंटरेस्ट रेट कम होता है, then market value of bond increase to 106. Therefore, you will now be earning, or you will be in profit. Earning तो तब होगी जब आप actually बेचोगे. You will be in profit. Your investment is now profitable. You purchased something for 105, but now its price has increased to 106 rupees. Is this clear? I sincerely hope it should be clear. I can see from your answers, many of you are answering, and sincerely hope it is clear to others as well, those who are not answering. I sincerely hope. But please hold your questions. Everything would be clear. I will recap it once I am able to explain every aspect, then I'll recap it quickly. So market value of bond, that is your investment, has now increased, versus here market value of bond, that is your investment, had decreased. Here comes the speculative component, speculative demand or speculative component. Speculative component क्या है? Speculative component is speculation on movement of interest rate. Speculation on movement of interest rate. Present interest rate is 5%. You don't know whether it will be increased to 6% or it will be decreased to 4%. Everybody has their own connotation with what is the normal interest rate. मुझे लगता है 5% interest rate is too high, therefore I expect it to fall in future. आपको लगता है 5% interest rate is too low, therefore you expect it to increase in future. So what is the event that we are speculating on, that we are betting on? The event is where will interest rates move? Where will interest rates go? Whether interest rates will increase or whether interest rates will decrease. Based on, listen very carefully, the final few lines coming up. Based on our expectations of interest rate, based on what we expect with interest rates, both of us will have some view about whether our investment would be profitable in future or would be loss making in future. I have purchased this bond, you have purchased this bond, दोनों के पास आज ये bond है. Person 1, person 2, person 3, everybody possesses this bond. Various people possess this bond of 105 rupees. Various people will have different viewpoints about what will be the interest rate in future. Person 1 expects it to move higher. Person 2 expects it to remain 5%. Person 3 expects it to go lower. Based on our viewpoint of interest rate, we will have a viewpoint of whether our investment will be profitable or not. अगर interest rate बढ़ते हैं future में, if interest rates increase in future, then I will make a loss on my investment. If interest rates fall in future, then I will make a profit on my investment. If I believe, मेरे पास 105 रुपए हैं, if I 105 रुपए का ये बॉन्ड है, if I believe interest rates are going to increase in future, I believe, if person 1, I believe interest rates are going to increase in future, what will I do with my investment? अगर मुझे पता है कि मेरे पास आज ये 105 रुपए का बॉन्ड है, I believe interest rates are going to increase in future from 5 to 6%, will it not be prudent for me to sell the bond today? आज बेच दो क्योंकि फ्यूचर में लॉस होगा. फ्यूचर में आई विल बी एबल टू सेल इट फॉर ओनली 104 रुपीज. टुडे आई कैन सेल इट फॉर 105 रुपीज. सो इट मेक्स सेंस फॉर मी टू होल्ड माई बॉन्ड्स और टू सेल देम टुडे. विल आई होल्ड देम? इफ आई होल्ड देम देन आई विल बी एट अ लॉस. देयरफॉर इट मेक्स सेंस फॉर मी टू सेल देम टुडे. आज क्या डिसीजन होगा मेरा? माई डिसीजन वुड बी टू सेल माई बॉन्ड्स टुडे एंड कन्वर्ट दिस इन्वेस्टेड वेल्थ into liquid money. On the other hand, if my viewpoint is that interest rates are going to fall in future, if I believe interest rates will fall in future, what will I do with the money in my hand? I will use all my money to buy bonds because I expect a rise in price of bonds in future. I expect a profit in future. Therefore, does it not make sense for me to buy more bonds today? I will hold on to the bonds that I have. I will buy more and more bonds if possible. अगर मेरे पास एक्स्ट्रा पैसा है, कहीं से भी आता है, मैं उनसे और ज्यादा बॉन्ड्स खरीदूंगा आज. क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि बॉन्ड्स का प्राइस फ्यूचर में इंक्रीज करेगा. This is the speculation. This is the speculative element. Speculative demand क्या होती है? This we'll see in just 1 minute. We have covered almost entirely this thing. Speculative element, that what are we speculating on? This should be clear in everybody's mind. I'll try to summarize it in the next slide. Everybody pay attention here. I am trying to summarize it. Please pay attention here. Relationship between bond, that is your asset, bond prices and interest rates, If interest rates increase, bond price will fall. इसको थोड़ा सा और इधर कर देता हूं. If interest rate increase, bond price will fall. Therefore, holders of bond bond price would fall. अभी would like की बात नहीं करता हूं. Therefore, holders of bond would be at a loss. Holders of bond would be at a loss. If interest rates decrease, bond prices will rise. Therefore, holders of bonds would be in profits. Let me write one more line in between these. If interest rates increase, bond prices will fall because bond will become relatively less attractive. मोबाइल फोन पे देखने वाले गाली दे रहे होंगे कि क्या घुसा दिया एकदम बीच में. If interest rates decrease, bond prices will rise because, please say it along with me, because bonds will become relatively more attractive. ये बात सबको क्लियर हो गई है कि नहीं? Is this clear to everybody? This is the summary of what we have discussed. थोड़ी सी summary और बची है. This is the broad summary of what we have discussed. Relationship between bond prices and interest rates. Bond और interest rates का relationship. If interest rates increase, no speculative element. अभी हमने speculative element की यहां पे नहीं लिखा है, हमने बात कर चुके हैं, but I have not written it here. If interest rates increase, then bond prices will fall. Why? Because bond will now become relatively less attractive. Savings bank पे interest rate increase हो गया, so now relative attractiveness of bond has decreased as compared to before or not? So bond is now in less demand, bond's price will fall. Therefore, holders of the bond, those who possess the bond today, those who are holding on to bonds today, they will be at a loss. Vice versa, if interest rates decrease, अगर interest rate कम होते हैं, then bond prices will rise. Bond price will increase. Why will bond price increase? Because bonds will become relatively more attractive. If interest rates decrease, savings bank is offering you lesser interest rate. Bond तो अभी भी 10 दे रहा है, लेकिन savings bank अब केवल 4 दे रहा है या केवल 3% दे रहा है. So relative attractiveness of bond will now be higher or not? Bond is relatively more attractive than before. So therefore, price of bond, demand of bond will increase, price of bond will increase further. To what level? Equilibrium level हम discuss कर चुके हैं. So bond price will now increase. Therefore, holder of the bonds will now be in profits. Is this absolutely clear to you? Now let me just write down the speculative element here. Speculative element, speculation. If a person expects, two possibilities: interest rates to fall, interest rates to increase. If a person expects interest rates to fall or interest rates to increase. If you expect interest rates to fall, therefore expects interest rate to fall. अगर आप interest rate को fall, if interest rate is going to fall in future, therefore you expect bond prices to increase. If you expect interest rate to increase, therefore you expect bond prices to fall. If you expect bond price to increase, therefore what will be your decision? ये person की expectation वाला part हटा रहा हूं. This is the two scenarios. Expectation. If you expect interest rate to fall, you will expect bond prices to increase. If you expect bond prices to increase, what will be your decision today? You will hold on. You will hold on to the bonds. You will hold on to the bonds, or even buy more bonds. Even buy more bonds with all your excess money. That is, all your money, all your excess money will be converted to bonds. Will be converted to bonds. I'll read it out. पहले मैं ये लिख देता हूं, then I'll read both together. Interest rates, if you expect them to increase in future, you expect bond prices to fall in future. If you expect bond prices to fall, then what will be your action? If you expect bond prices to fall, then you will sell your existing bonds, not buy any more bonds. Simply hold on to your cash balances. Simply hold on to your cash balances. I'll read both things again. यहां पे मैंने लिखा था if a person expects. Two expectations, either you expect interest rate to fall or you expect interest rate to increase. If you expect interest rate to fall, then ये expectation, यहीं तक expectation है, expectation is still here only up to interest rate. इसके बाद आगे तो certainty है. अगर आप इंटरेस्ट रेट को एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हो कि फॉल करेगा, इफ यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग इंटरेस्ट रेट विल फॉल और राइज, देन योर पाथ शुड बी क्लियर. इसके बाद कोई अनसर्टेनिटी नहीं है, स्पेकुलेशन है. स्पेकुलेशन केवल यहां है, इंटरेस्ट रेट टू फॉल और इंटरेस्ट रेट टू इंक्रीज. यू एक्सपेक्ट इंटरेस्ट रेट टू फॉल, देयरफॉर you will expect bond prices to increase. When you expect bond prices to increase, it makes sense for you to hold on to your bonds, क्योंकि वो increase होंगे, आपको capital profit होगा फ्यूचर में. You would like to convert all your money in excess of your transaction demand, जितना भी transaction demand के सिवा money था, you will like to convert all your money into bonds, or you will like to, let's say, invest your money because you expect higher returns here. You will hold on to the bonds or even buy more bonds with all your excess money. All your excess money will now be converted into bonds, will now be invested. So in this case, excess money possessed by you would be how much? Zero. excess money is not possessed in cash form, or let's say liquid form, entire excess money is now converted to bonds. तो आपके पास कैश बैलेंस है ही नहीं. Only for your transaction demand you have cash balance, but apart from that you have nothing, you have zero. You have converted everything into bonds. So money in form of this cash, that is this excess money, is not there. All of it has been converted. पूरा का पूरा मनी कन्वर्ट हो गया है. This excess money, ये जो excess money है, listen very carefully everybody, this excess money, excess जो आपके पास extra पैसा है apart from your transaction demand, this excess money is called speculative demand. Money in excess of your transaction demand. Listen very carefully. Money in excess of your transaction demand which you hold is called speculative demand. If you don't hold any excess money, because you have converted all of that excess money into bond, that is illiquid form, not a liquid form, you have converted all your money into illiquid form, you are said to possess no excess money. अब आपके पास excess money नहीं बचा है. Therefore we say that speculative demand is zero or very less. Speculative demand क्या है पहले ये समझो ध्यान से. What is meant by this term speculative demand? Standard definition है. Please listen everybody, kindly pay full attention. Speculative demand means the amount of money held in excess of transaction demand. Money का मतलब यहां पे हम बात कर रहे हैं कैश बैलेंस. Money doesn't mean investment. Money here means cash balance, investment. Cash का मतलब cash, currency और digital money. Bond is not digital money. Bond का मतलब पैसा आपके हाथ से चला गया. Money has left your hand. So you don't possess any excess money now. You have given your money. You have purchased land. अब आपके पास land है, money नहीं है. You have an asset. You don't have money now. Your asset can be converted into money. That is different thing. But what do you possess now? You don't have cash. You don't have digital money. You have your transaction demand वाला money plus you have your asset. आपके पास मनी नहीं है. अब मनी क्या है? स्पेकुलेटिव डिमांड को हम कैसे डिफाइन करते हैं? एवरीबडी पे अटेंशन. स्पेकुलेटिव डिमांड इज डिफाइंड एज मनी विच यू होल्ड इन एक्सेस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन डिमांड. मनी हेल्ड इन एक्सेस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन डिमांड. हाउ मच मनी डू यू होल्ड हेयर इन एक्सेस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन डिमांड? All of your money here has now been converted into bonds. Therefore you possess zero money. By definition क्या है? Definition is money held in excess of transaction demand. By definition, how much money do you hold in excess of transaction demand here? Zero. So by definition, what is speculative demand for money here? Speculative demand for money is zero here. You don't possess any money here because all of your money has now been converted into bonds, has now been invested. तो आपके पास money नहीं है. So we'll say speculative demand for money is zero. People do not hold any cash balance with them because people have invested that money. No money in excess of transaction demand is called speculative demand. Here you don't have that money because you have invested all that money. Why? You expect your assets to increase in price. On the contrary, here opposite case सुना रहा हूं, समझा रहा हूं, सेम चीज रिपीट करूंगा ऑपोजिट तरीके से. In this case, what do you expect? You expect interest rates to increase in future. Expectation, speculation का पार्ट यहीं पे खत्म हो गया है. You expect interest rates to increase in future. When you expect interest rates to increase in future, therefore, the bond which you possess will now become relatively less attractive than before. Interest rate बढ़ेगा तो bond relatively less attractive. Bond relatively less attractive than before, therefore bond's price will fall. You don't want to lose money on your bond price, so what will be your tendency? Your tendency would be to sell bonds today. अगर आप future में expect कर रहे हो, in future you expect interest rates to increase, it makes sense for you to sell your bonds today. Future में price increase होगा तो loss की wait क्यों करनी? Why you do want to wait for loss? you expect bond prices to fall. You will sell your existing bonds. You will not buy any bonds with the amount of money that you have. When you sell your bonds, now you will possess money in excess of your transaction demand. जो आपके पास bonds थे वो बेच दिए, जब वो बेचे तो क्या हुआ, अब आपके पास money आ गया. You now have money. You have money in excess of your transaction demand. You are not using that money to buy any more bonds. Why? Because you expect bond prices to fall in future. You will simply hold on to your cash balance. You have extra money, so be it. मैं उसको savings bank account में रखूंगा. I will not use that money for investment anywhere. I will like to keep my money as cash balance. Why? Because if I invest my money, I expect a loss on that investment. Therefore, there is no point in me investing that money anywhere. And therefore, all of my excess money in excess of transaction demand will be kept as cash balance. Will be kept in form of money, not in form of investments. Will be kept in form of money, cash balances. Digital form में रखो, cash balance में रखो, बात एक ही. And therefore, because here you hold money in excess of your transaction demand, here we say that there exists speculative demand. Exists speculative demand. But I've just written here, there exists speculative demand. समझ जाओ इस चीज को. This is speculative demand for money, which is related to interest rates expectation. You have some expectation with regards to interest rate that determines speculative demand. When interest rate is high at present, more people will expect it to fall in future. When interest rate is high at present, बहुत ही गंदी राइटिंग है यार मेरी, आई एम सॉरी. अब तो यार आदत पड़ चुकी है, 22 क्लास हो गई. If interest rate is high at present, then more people will expect it to fall in future. अगर आज हाई है, everybody has their conception of what is the normal interest rate. If interest rate is high, that means many people in the economy, कई सारे लोग हैं इकोनॉमी में, ज्यादातर लोग इकोनॉमी में से हैं जो कि समझते हैं कि बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट रेट्स हैं, they are expected to fall in future. So more people will expect interest rate to fall. I'm not saying everybody will expect. There might be some people who expect कि अभी और ऊपर जाएगा. ऐसे लोग होंगे तभी तो ये लोग अपने बॉन्ड खरीदेंगे बेचेंगे आपस में. Because there are two people who have different conceptions. Because there exist two people. One has an expectation that interest rates will fall. Another has an expectation interest rate will rise. Only then will a trade take place or not. भाई इस केस में interest rate, you expected interest rate to fall. You expect bond price to increase. How will you buy bonds now? Bond खरीदोगे कैसे? You will hold on to your bonds or even buy bonds with all your excess money. How will you buy bonds? There has to be some seller or not? वो जो seller है, वो seller इस category में. Seller expects interest rates to increase, therefore he is disposing of his bonds. You expect interest rate to fall, therefore you are buying bonds from that partner. तो एक buyer होने के लिए एक seller होना जरूरी है कि नहीं है? So people will always exist in the economy, those who expect interest rate to fall, those who expect interest rate to increase. Only then can trade take place. One person expects bond prices to fall, another expect the bond price to increase. तभी तो मुझे लगता है मैं फायदे में होऊंगा, आपको लगता है आप फायदे में होंगे, तभी हम ट्रेड करेंगे. फायदा किसका होगा या नहीं वो एक्चुअल में पता चलेगा कि फ्यूचर में इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ते हैं कि घटते हैं. Who will actually benefit will be known only when interest rates actually increase or decrease in future. But today we have expectations. So if interest rate is high at present, If interest rate is high at present, that means more people would be there in the economy in general who expect interest rate to fall in future. And if more people are there who expect interest rate to fall in future, therefore more people will like to hold on to their bonds. बेचेंगे नहीं, why? Because they expect interest rate to fall in future, therefore they expect bond prices to increase in future. अब increase होंगे future में, so they would like to hold their bonds today. If more people are holding on to their bonds or more people are likely to buy bonds, therefore what will happen to speculative demand for money? Speculative demand for money will be low. Why low? Because if everybody holds on to their bonds or buys bonds, that means money in excess of transaction demand would be less. सबने अपना मनी जो एक्सेस में था, they have converted into bonds, and because most people have converted that excess money into bond, therefore speculative demand for money is now less. By definition क्या है speculative demand की? Speculative demand is money held in excess of transaction demand. Because most people have converted that money into bonds, therefore speculative demand of money will be low. Interest rate, if it is high at present, speculative demand would be low. Vice versa, if interest rate is low at present, अगर आज interest rate कम है, बोलो सारे points बोलेंगे साथ साथ. If today interest rate is low, if interest rate is generally low at present, more people will expect it to, today it is low, more people will expect it to rise. If more people expect interest rates to rise, what will be the decision on bonds? If more people expect interest rate to rise, more people will like to sell their bonds today. Why? Because if you expect interest rates to rise, therefore you expect bond prices to fall. Interest rate, bond price, opposite direction. Interest rate to rise, bond price to fall. And therefore, if you want to sell your bonds today, or people are likely to sell their bonds today, therefore money held by people in excess of transaction demand would be higher, which is called as speculative demand, or speculative demand would be high. Speculative demand would be high. Is it or is it not absolutely clear to everyone? Interest rate high at present, more people expect it to fall in future. More people likely to hold on to their bonds because they expect a rise in price of bonds, and therefore people would convert all their excessive cash to bonds. Hence, they will not have any speculative demand. Speculative demand of money would be low. If interest rate is low at present, more people will expect it to rise in future. Therefore, more people will expect that their bonds are going to suffer capital losses. Therefore, they would likely convert their bonds into, they would likely liquidate their bonds, sell their bonds. And therefore, there is going to be high speculative demand in the economy. Is this clear? Finally, let me write it in mathematical form. Interest rates are is inversely proportional to bond price. Interest rate R is inversely proportional to speculative demand, or let me simply write it as R is inversely proportional, or speculative demand of money, MDS, is inversely proportional to interest rates. Speculative demand of money inversely proportional to interest rate. पिछली स्लाइड में हमने देखा है speculative demand inversely, interest rate is high, speculative demand would be low. Interest rate is low, speculative demand would be high. Interest rate is inversely proportional to speculative demand. If we have to draw a graph We can think of it like this, that this would be our speculative demand for money. X axis पे we have speculative demand for money, Y axis पे we have interest rate. Inverse proportionality. I could have drawn a straight line also. Point is, what is this graph depicting? Graph depict क्या कर रहा है? भावनाएं समझो इस ग्राफ की क्या है. भावनाएं क्या है? This graph is depicting an inverse relationship between interest rate and speculative demand. When interest rate is very high, interest rate यहां पे है, speculative demand would be very low or not? अभी डिस्कस किया हमने. If interest rate is high, speculative demand would be low. Everybody expects interest rate to fall in future. Therefore, everybody would expect bond prices to rise in future. Bond price rise होंगे तो सब आज ही सारे के सारे बॉन्ड खरीद लेंगे. So no excessive money available. So if interest rate is high, speculative demand is low. If interest rate is low, speculative demand is high. Why? Because at low interest rate, everybody expects, or most people expect interest rates to increase in future. When interest rate increase, bonds will become relatively less attractive, therefore the prices will fall. Hence, today everybody would like to dispose of their bonds. Whatever excess money you will have, you will not like to convert it into bonds today. Therefore, when interest rates are low, speculative demand is high. Before I pause, क्या समय हुआ है? 6:46. Before I pause, before I end this discussion, the final thing that I'll be discussing, concept of, ये एनसीईआरटी में दिया हुआ है एक चीज. मैं आपको एनसीईआरटी में क्या दिया हुआ है? दिया ऑब्वियसली सही चीज दी हुई है. बिकॉज इट इज गिवन इन एनसीईआरटी, दैट इज व्हाई आई एम डिस्कसिंग द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ आर मैक्स एंड आर मिन. यार आर तो ढंग से बना ले यार, कितना गंदा आर है सीरियसली. मेरे को बचपन में बहुत डांट पड़ती थी जब मैं छोटा था ना. मम्मी से तो बहुत पड़ती थी और स्कूल में टीचर से तो बहुत ज्यादा पड़ती थी कि यार क्या लिखते हो तुम, कितनी गंदी हैंड राइटिंग है तुम्हारी. आप लोग डांट नहीं सकते हो, मेरी कंप्लेंट तो कर सकते हो, करते भी हो राइटिंग के चक्कर में. एनीवेज, अब तो यार एग्जाम दे दिया हमने. एग्जाम में आई genuinely believe that my handwriting played a very big part in me getting less marks. I genuinely believe this, and that is why I keep on reminding you in a rather self-perjurating or a funny way to at least improve your handwriting. है ना? I don't have much consequences of bad handwriting, but you do have you still have big consequences for bad handwriting. So please try to improve. Something on a personal note. ठीक है? Try to improve your handwriting. Anyways, sorry. So there is a concept of R max and R min. R max and R min क्या है? ये NCERT में दो concept दिए हुए हैं. Quickly I'll just tell you about this R max and R min. R max is not 10% or 15% or 20 or 100 or 200%. That is not R max. 0% is not R min, 1% is not R min, minus 1% is not R min. The concept of R max and R min is theoretical. R max and R min, how have they been defined? किस तरीके से define किया है R max और R min को? R max is defined as that interest rate. Listen very carefully. Definition क्या है? R max has been defined as that interest rate when nobody in the economy expects that interest rates will now rise in. By definition क्या है? R max की nobody expects interest rates to rise further. R min, nobody expects interest rates to fall further. This nobody is the definition of R max and R min. Definition में rate of interest नहीं है. R max doesn't refer to 10% or 15%. If interest rate in the economy is 10%, for example, a very high rate of interest, generally most people would think that interest rates will not rise from here. 10% से ऊपर तो नहीं जाएंगे कुछ भी हो जाए. Generally most people would think like this. But even if there exists one person, even if there is one person who exists in the economy who thinks that interest rates will increase in further, we will not say that 10% is R max. even at 100%, if somebody expects interest rates to further rise, we will not call R max as 100%. We will not call 100% that it is R max. R max की definition क्या है? R max by definition is that interest rate on which nobody expects interest rate to rise in future. If nobody expects, theoretically सोचो इस चीज को, if there is some theoretical interest rate R max, theoretical interest rate R max कोई है, if there is some theoretical interest rate R max, that is an interest rate at which nobody expects interest rate to rise in future, what will be the decision of people at R max? At R max, everybody in the economy will have converted their excess money into bonds, क्योंकि अब कोई भी ऐसा व्यक्ति नहीं है जो कि एक्सपेक्ट करता है कि इंटरेस्ट रेट फ्यूचर में बढ़ेंगे. Everybody now expects that from here there is only one way, that is downward. Everybody expects that from here interest rates will only decrease. They can only decrease, they will not increase. At this level, at this theoretical level of R max, nobody would like to keep excess cash balance. Why? Because everybody would expect a appreciation of an assets, of their assets. सब लोग एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे when R is equals to R max, everybody would expect that their assets will appreciate in future. So everybody with whatever money they have, किसी के पास 10 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा है, किसी के पास 25 एक्स्ट्रा है, किसी के पास 10 करोड़ एक्स्ट्रा है, everybody with whatever extra money they have, everybody would like to buy some kind of asset with whatever excess money they have. Therefore, speculative demand of money when R is equals to R max would be zero. जब इंटरेस्ट रेट मैक्सिमम होगा, then speculative demand of money would be zero. Why? Because nobody would hold any excess cash balance apart from the transaction demand. Nobody would hold that. On the converse, when R is equals to R min, जब R min के बराबर है, I am not saying R min is equals to 0 or R min is equals to -1 or R min is equals to 2. I am not saying. I am simply saying a theoretical level, R min. कोई R min है, minimum rate of interest. Meaning by definition that rate of interest at which now nobody expects that it will fall further. From R min, expectation of everyone is that there is only one way up. यहां से अब ऊपर ही जाएगा, इससे नीचे नहीं जाएगा. So at R min, when there is nobody in the economy who thinks that interest rates will fall further, therefore there is nobody in the economy who thinks that there is going to be an appreciation of their assets. Everybody in the economy thinks that assets price would now fall in future. अगर आज मैंने कोई asset खरीद लिया, its price will certainly fall in future because interest rates increase करने वाले हैं. Interest rates increase करेंगे, my asset will become relatively less attractive. Therefore, its price will fall. So at R is equals to R bin, there would be no one in the economy who would be willing to buy any asset. Everybody would have sold off their assets already and would now hold to their dear cash balance. Therefore, at R is equals to R min, speculative demand of money would be infinite or not. जितना money है economy में, all that money apart from, जितना excess money apart from transaction demand है, none of that money would be invested anywhere अगर interest rate R min के बराबर है. If interest rates are at R min, money will not be invested at all. Speculative demand of money would be infinite at this place. Infinite का मतलब entire money that exists in excess, all that would be speculative demand. No part of that excess money would be converted into bond when interest is R min. क्यों? Naturally, because now everybody expects bond prices to fall in future. तो कोई क्यों bonds buy करेगा? This is the concept of R max and R min. Let's take a break now. Before I go to the break, I will see your questions. There should be many questions. It is 6:54. I will have a look at your questions. I will give you some time to absorb whatever we have discussed. After the break, I will dictate these things to you. जो भी हमने discuss किया है, I'll dictate briefly these things. Let me see, कोई क्वेश्चन है क्या? शुभम, Why a person who purchases a bond from government at 100 will sell it to another person at a price less than 110, despite knowing that if he himself keep the bond with himself, government will pay him 110. Why will a person sell this bond? A person will simply sell this bond. 10 रुपए मुझे कब मिलेंगे? एक साल के बाद. I will get 110 rupees after 1 year. If somebody is offering me 105 rupees today, अगर आज मुझे कोई 105 रुपए ऑफर कर रहा है, why not? I will sell my bond at 105 rupees today, make a profit of 5 rupees, and I will invest those 105 rupees in savings bank account. और अब 105 रुपए में मैं कुछ इंटरेस्ट कमाऊंगा. Or if I invest 100 rupees, if I invest only 100 rupees today in savings bank account, at the end of 1 year I will get 5 rupees. तो 5 रुपए जो मेरे को at the end of 1 year I'll still be at 110 or not. A little bit more than that if I put 105 rupees in bank. समझ गए होगे? शुभम? Abhinav, sir, the rate of interest on bond will be paid on initial amount, that is 100 rupees, or an increased price, that is 10% on 105 and so on. So Abhinav, I have answered this question. Increased price, bond ka at what rate? I have answered this question already in detail, but I'll re-clarify it. I'm sure that ये question आपने पहले पूछा होगा जब तक मैंने clarify नहीं किया होगा, but I'll re-clarify it because it is a little bit important concept. Everybody listen here. इंटरेस्ट रेट गवर्नमेंट ने कितने पे प्रॉमिस किया है? फेस वैल्यू ऑफ दैट बॉन्ड वाज 100 रुपीज. गवर्नमेंट सेड दैट वी हैव बोरोड 100, वी विल पे 10% ऑन दिस 100 रुपीज. इट डजंट मैटर एट व्हाट रेट यू हैव परचेज्ड. आप उसको 95 रुपीज पे परचेज करो, आप उसको 110 रुपीज पे परचेज करो. गवर्नमेंट हैज बोरोड ओनली 100, गवर्नमेंट विल पे 10% ऑन 100. गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट पेइंग interest to you at the price that you have purchased. Why? You have purchased it for 105 from whom? From me. Those 5 rupees of profit is earned by whom? By me. Government does not get 105. Government तो एक बार 100 रुपए लेके जा चुकी है. सरकार ने 100 रुपए लिए मेरे से. Government took 100 rupees from me and government promised I will pay. जिसके पास भी ये बॉन्ड होगा, एनीबडी हु इज होल्डिंग दिस बॉन्ड, मेरे पास आ जाना, आई विल पे यू 10 रुपीज आफ्टर 1 ईयर ऑन 100 रुपीज. सो गवर्नमेंट ने तो 100 दिए, आप सरकार के पास बॉन्ड लेके जाओगे, सरकार आपको 10 रुपए पे करेगी. गवर्नमेंट विल पे यू 10 रुपीज. व्हाई इज गवर्नमेंट कंसर्न एट व्हाट प्राइस डिड यू बाय? यू बॉट इट फॉर 105, इट इज योर डिसीजन. ठीक है. अद्वैत, sir, can the value of bonds be influenced by the government in the case of economies like China which are partially free? वैल्यू ऑफ बॉन्ड्स के ऊपर वी कैन हैव अ डिस्कशन समटाइम. चलो आज ही डिस्कस करेंगे वैल्यू ऑफ बॉन्ड्स, डिस्काउंट एंड प्रीमियम, दीज कॉन्सेप्ट्स वी कैन डिस्कस. मैं लिखवा दूंगा आपको क्लास के व्हेन आई एम डिक्टेटिंग नोट्स टू यू. व्हेन आई एम डिक्टेटिंग नोट्स अबाउट बॉन्ड, आई विल डिक्टेट द कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ प्रीमियम एंड डिस्काउंट ऑन अ बॉन्ड. आई विल ऑल्सो टेल यू हाउ इज बॉन्ड प्राइस इन्फ्लुएंस्ड, किस तरीके से हम उसको इन्फ्लुएंस कर सकते हैं. हाउएवर, the influence that you are talking about here, जैसे चाइनीज गवर्नमेंट जो कि पार्शियली फ्री इकोनॉमी है, this would be more like rigging the bond price. जैसे कहते हैं ना, bid rig कर दी है, somebody has rigged the bid, somebody has rigged the prices somehow. This is more like rigging. So rigging is beyond our discussion. ठीक है, rigging तो हो ही सकती है, कहीं ना कहीं कोई चाह के तो कुछ छेड़छाड़ कर ही सकता है. This is more of a non-rigged, more of a fair economy aspect that we have discussed. Chalo, let me see any questions here. If there is speculative demand in the economy, that is excess money with the people, will be a chain reaction. Then that they will now speculate and trust it again, and the process goes on. ये आंसर कर चुका हूं मैंने. R should be proportional to speculative demand as its rise speculative demand. Yes, I have explained this. R inversely proportional यार, पिछली स्लाइड पे लिखा था, देखो ना यहाँ पे लिखा है इंटरेस्ट रेट इज हाई एट प्रेजेंट, स्पेकुलेटिव डिमांड वुड बी लेस. इंटरेस्ट रेट ज्यादा है, स्पेकुलेटिव डिमांड कम है, इंटरेस्ट रेट कम है, स्पेकुलेटिव डिमांड ज्यादा है. आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड दिस. Okay. Anju is saying, sir, maturity is for 2 years and interest rate is 10% and every year government will give 10%. I'll tell you, अभी मैं लिखवा दूंगा. These are small things associated with bond. How is a bond payout made? All these things I'll dictate to you. Bond का payout किस तरीके से होता है, price increase decrease क्या होता है, I'll dictate these things. These are very small things. We have discussed the bigger concepts, the more important, interesting concepts we have discussed. Some small aspects of bonds may be asked in the exam, maybe asked, पूछा जा सकता है, पूछा भी है, पिछले कुछ साल में एक आध बार पूछा था. Some small aspects have been asked, so I'll dictate those things, but I hope the broader point should be clear to everybody. चलो, so let's take a break everybody. Let's take a break. It's 7 o'clock. 7:10 पे मिलते हैं, ठीक है? After the break, I'll dictate and then we'll see how much do we carry forward today. ठीक है, चलो ब्रेक लेते हैं, ब्रेक के बाद मिलते हैं. 10 minutes break. It's 7 o'clock. We'll meet at 7:10 sharp. क्या ऑडिबल ना? या ठीक है, चलो. Let's start. Let me dictate. Please give heading. यार I've forgotten. Transaction demand लिखवाया था कि नहीं लिखवाया था? Did I dictate? I dictated. I remember. Yes. मैंने लिखवाया था. Transaction demand. I remember. Yes. Please give heading. Speculative demand of money. Give heading. Speculative demand of money. Write down. Speculative demand of money. Speculative demand of money. ब्रैकेट में लिख लो MDS. MDS. Whenever I use the term speculative demand, you write MDS now. ठीक है, अभी लिख लो MDS. Speculative demand of money, MDS, is the money demanded in excess of transaction demand. In excess of transaction demand. Full stop. If the excess money has been converted, if the excess money has been converted, if the लक्ष्य मैंने देखा नहीं है, I'll have a look at it again. If there is anything wrong, I'll have a look at it. Please पहले लिखो, उसके बाद I'll see. If the excess money has been converted to bonds or other investment avenues, if the excess money has been converted to bonds or other investment avenues, then it is said that speculative demand of money is low. Then it is said that speculative demand of money is low. Full stop. If money in excess of transaction demand, if money in excess of transaction demand has not been converted into other form of wealth, has not been converted into other form of wealth, and is possessed in form of money only, and is possessed in form of money only. ब्रैकेट में लिख लो कैश और डिजिटल, and is possessed in form of money only, ब्रैकेट में कैश और डिजिटल, ब्रैकेट क्लोज, देन कॉमा के बाद ब्रैकेट क्लोज के बाद कॉमा, देन the speculative demand of money, then the speculative demand of money is said to be high, then the speculative demand of money is said to be high. Full stop. Next paragraph. The decision to convert this excess money, the decision to convert this excess money into investment, the decision to convert this excess money into investment, ब्रैकेट में फॉर एग्जाम्पल bonds, the decision to convert this excess money into investment, ब्रैकेट में फॉर एग्जाम्पल bonds, ब्रैकेट क्लोज, is taken on the basis of expected profits or losses, is taken on the basis of expected profits or losses that a person may incur on his investments in future, that a person may incur on his investments in future. Full stop. If the assets purchased from this excess money, if the assets purchased from this excess money are expected to appreciate, if the assets purchased from this excess money are expected to appreciate, then a person will make profits on his present investment, then a person will make profits on his present investments, and vice versa for losses, full stop. Whether or not, वेदर की स्पेलिंग पता है ना, वेदर, WEA वाला मौसम, WH वाला वेदर, whether or not assets will appreciate, can be understood with the help of relationship of assets with interest rates. Whether or not assets will appreciate can be understood with the help of relationship of asset prices. I did not mention the word prices in the previous sentence. With the help of relationship of asset prices with interest rates. Full stop. Briefly, if general interest rates in the economy, if general interest rates in the economy increase. Briefly, if general interest rates in the economy increase, then the relative value of assets, then the relative value of assets will decrease. Then the relative value of assets will decrease. Full stop. लिखो इसमें आगे. People invest money in assets. People invest money in assets when they expect that the appreciation in asset, when they expect that the appreciation in asset would be more than if money was invested in a risk-free avenue, would be more than what if money was invested in a risk-free avenue, like a savings bank account, full stop. If the interest that savings bank account pays, if the interest that savings bank account pays, if the interest that savings bank account pays increases, then the relative attractiveness of the asset decreases. Then the relative attractiveness of the asset decreases. Therefore, its demand should fall. And hence its prices. नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में ये इस तरीके से एरो बना के लिखना, एरो, ये वाला एरो बना के लिखना नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में. राइट डाउन. Therefore, depending upon future movement of interest rates, assets may increase or decrease in value. Therefore, depending upon future movement of interest rates, assets may increase or decrease in value. Full stop. If interest rates increase, then asset prices will fall. If interest rates increase, then asset prices will fall. Therefore, those who hold the assets at present, will make losses. Full stop. On the other hand, if interest rates fall, assets will become relatively more attractive. If interest rates fall, assets will become relatively more attractive, increasing their demand and hence price. Increasing their demand and hence price. Full stop. Therefore, those who hold assets at present, therefore, those who hold assets at present will be making profits in future. Will be making profits in future due to appreciation of asset prices. Due to appreciation of asset prices. Full stop. Next paragraph में लिखो. Expectations regarding interest rates. Underline करना इस word को. Expectations regarding, underline this phrase. Expectations regarding interest rates. Expectations regarding interest rates, thus expectations regarding interest rates thus drive present decisions regarding assets. Expectations regarding interest rates thus drive present decisions regarding assets. Full stop. Those who expect interest rates to rise, those who expect interest rates to rise, underline the word expect. Expect word बहुत important है यहाँ पे. Those who expect interest rates to rise, comma, will expect asset prices to fall. Will expect asset prices to fall. Therefore, will like to sell their present holdings. Therefore, will like to sell their present holdings because they expect losses in future. Because they expect losses in future. Full stop. Next line. Those who expect interest rates to fall, those who expect interest rates to fall, comma, will expect asset prices to rise. Will expect asset prices to rise. Therefore, they will hold on to their present assets. Therefore, they will hold on to their present assets and may even buy more assets from any of the excess money they hold over and above their transaction demand. From any of the excess money they hold over and above their transaction demand. Next paragraph में draw this. Sorry, just a second. Write in this tabular form also, जैसे मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा था. Write in this tabular form. I'll dictate. I'll also read up what is written here, but I'll expect you to write also in this form. Summary. we'll draw 3 tables जैसे मैंने बनाई थी, एक के बाद एक के बाद एक. So we'll also draw this thing. Give simply write like this. If interest rates increase, write like this. If interest rate increase, इसी तरीके से जिस तरीके से मैं, the manner in which I have written, obviously more cleanly, write it like this. If interest rates increase, arrow लगा के, bond prices will fall because bond will become relatively less attractive. इसके आगे arrow लगा के, holders of bond will be at a loss. So make sure you are writing in a manner that this is in one line. ठीक है, this entire thing is in one line. Make sure you are writing in this manner. One line, I mean, इसको 3-4 लाइन में लिखना, इसको 1-2 लाइन में लिखना. So make sure you write like this. This arrow लगा के this, then arrow लगा के this. I'll read. Please write along with me when I'm reading. If interest rates increase, arrow, bond prices will fall because bond will become relatively less attractive. आगे arrow लगा के, holders of the bond will be at a loss. Holders of the bond will be at a loss. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट लिखो. If interest rates decrease, if interest rates decrease, arrow लगा के, bond prices will rise because bond will become relatively more attractive. If interest rates decrease, arrow, bond prices will rise because bond will become relatively more attractive. इसके आगे arrow cleanly लिखना, मेरी तरह गंदा मंदा नहीं, cleanly. Holders of the bond will be in profits. Holders of the bond will be in profits. ठीक है, if you want to take a screenshot of your screen on your mobile phone, please do take if you have not written. ठीक है, मेरे को हटा के स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. क्या करोगे समझ में तो आएगा नहीं बाद में. नेक्स्ट ड्रॉ दिस. Speculation, right? Speculation. If a person expects, right here on the leftmost side of your page, right? If a person expects, underline this word expects. If a person expects, 2 possibilities, make sure that in 2 possibilities के बीच में enough space हो so that you can write all this what is written here. If a person expects, right, like in a tabular form, interest rates to fall, interest rates to increase. तो ऊपर केवल यही लिख लो, interest rates to fall. If a person expects, this should be there. If a person expects interest rates to fall, arrow लगा के लिखो. If you expect interest rate to fall, you expect bond prices to increase. You expect bond prices to increase. Arrow लगा के, you will hold on to the bonds. You will hold on to the bonds or even buy more bonds with your excess money. If you are on a Windows computer, press Windows key, Shift and S. Windows computer पे हो तो press Windows, Shift and S. If you are on a MacBook, press Command वाला बटन and 4, Command Shift 4. स्क्रीनशॉट आ जाएगा. ठीक है, और मोबाइल फोन में आपको लेना आता ही होगा, जो भी आपका मोबाइल फोन है. Write down. You will hold on to the bonds or even buy more bonds with all your excess money. इसी में नीचे लिखो, all your excess money will be converted to bonds. अरे मैं डिक्टेट यही से डिक्टेट कर रहा हूं. इंटरेस्ट, इफ यू एक्सपेक्ट इंटरेस्ट रेट टू फॉल, एरो लगा के नेक्स्ट लाइन में एरो लगाओ, एक्सपेक्ट बॉन्ड प्राइसेस टू इंक्रीज. नेक्स्ट एरो लगा के, यू विल होल्ड ऑन टू दी बॉन्ड्स even buy more bonds with all your excess money. hold on to the bonds, even buy more bonds with excess money. इसी में नीचे all your excess money will be converted to bonds. All your excess money will be converted to bonds. इसी में आगे एरो लगा के लिखो, excess money is not possessed in liquid form. Excess money is not possessed in liquid form. ये जो लिखा है, excess money is not possessed in liquid form. स्पेस खत्म हो गया होगा आपके पेज का. योर स्पेस, द विड्थ ऑफ योर पेज इज लिमिटेड. मैं तो इधर उधर कर सकता हूं. विड्थ ऑफ योर पेज इज लिमिटेड, स्पेस वुड हैव एंडेड. सो एक एरो इसके बाद नीचे लगा लेना एंड सिंपली राइट देयर speculative demand is less. Speculative demand of money is less. One more arrow after this, write down speculative demand of money is less. After you have written this, excess money is not possessed in liquid form, then one more arrow and write speculative demand of money is less. Second possibility of this person's expectation, if a person expects interest rates to increase, लिखो इसी तरीके से बनाओ. One arrow, interest rate to fall, another arrow, interest rate to increase. If a person expects interest rate to increase, अपने आप लिखने की कोशिश करना है इसमें. Please try to write it by yourself. Expect bond prices to fall. Expect bond prices to fall. Dash, आगे next लगाओ. You will sell your existing bonds, not buy any more bonds, and simply hold on to your cash balances. You will sell your existing bonds, not buy any more bonds, simply hold on to your cash balances. इसमें एरो लगा के लिखना, ये मत लिखना, एरो लगा के लिखना. Excess money is possessed in liquid form. यहां पे एरो लगा के, इसके बाद एरो लगा के लिखना. Make an arrow after this and write down excess money is possessed in liquid form. After this arrow, excess money is possessed in liquid form. And after that, one more arrow and write speculative demand is high. Speculative demand is high. Speculative demand is high. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट सिमिलर से अब थर्ड चार्ट बनाएंगे हम. Write down third chart, third flow chart. First, if interest rate is high at present, देखो यहां तक जो हमने डिस्कस किया था till this point was with respect to a person. This was with respect to a person. How will a person make decision? And in this slide, final cheese, we are talking about economy. Here we are talking about economy wide level. अभी तक जो हमने लिखा था that was with respect to a person, and here we are talking at the economy wide level. Things would be the same, but it is important that we write this thing. Please write down, everybody, kindly, just few more words and then it will be done with it. Please write down, when interest rate is high at present, when interest rate is high at present, dash, more people in the economy expect it to fall in future. When interest rate is high at present, more people in the economy expect it to fall in future. Next, आगे dash लगाओ. Therefore, people are willing to buy more bonds. Therefore, people are willing to buy more bonds. डैश आगे लिखो, people are willing to buy more bonds. Again next arrow, write down, therefore the overall speculative demand, therefore the overall speculative demand in the economy would be less. Therefore the overall speculative demand for money will be less. Therefore overall speculative demand for money would be less. Next, if interest rates are low at present, if interest rates are low at present, dash लगाओ आगे arrow, more people expect it to rise, more people expect it to rise. Next arrow, people are likely to sell their bonds, people are likely to sell their bonds. Last arrow, therefore speculative demand would be high, therefore speculative demand would be high. Finally write this, इसको मैं दोबारा से लिख देता हूं. Next, please write along with me, therefore interest rates are inversely proportional to asset prices or bond prices. Interest rates increase, bond price will decrease. Interest rate decrease, bond price will increase. Interest rates are inversely proportional to asset prices. Also interest rate comma R लिखो, interest rate को R. Interest rates are inversely proportional to speculative demand. Interest rates inversely proportional to speculative demand. Next line में लिखना, that is when R is high, MDS would be low, and when R is low, MDS would be high. MDS would be high. Please write along with me, along with this what I have written. That is last line इसके बाद लिखो, MDS would be high के बाद, that is people would maintain excess liquid money. People would maintain excess liquid money over and above their transaction demand. People would maintain excess liquid money over and above their transaction demand and not convert it into assets. Not convert it into assets. Draw this graph. अब कुछ एक्स्ट्रा चीजें लिखवाऊंगा which I did not tell in the while discussion or did not tell elaborately during discussion. एक्स्ट्रा चीजें. Draw this graph. On y-axis write R, on x-axis MDS, speculative demand for money. Mark this point as R max and this point as R min. R max, R min, draw this graph. Simply it is showing inverse relationship, nothing more, inverse relationship. Write down R max, R max, R max. R max is that interest rate, R max is that interest rate at which nobody in the economy expects it to, at which nobody in the economy expects it to rise further. Full stop. Therefore everybody expects that interest rates will fall from here. Therefore everybody expects that interest rates will fall from here, and hence asset prices will increase, full stop. Therefore nobody holds cash, और कैश की जगह लिखो मनी. Therefore nobody holds money, comma, therefore the speculative demand, write MDS, therefore the speculative demand MDS is equals to 0. Therefore the speculative demand is equals to 0. Full stop. Next paragraph, R min is the interest rate, at which everybody expects that interest rates will not fall from here, rather they will only rise. Full stop. Therefore nobody buys any assets as they expect asset prices to fall in future, hence everybody holds the excess cash, the excess money, rather than converting it into assets. Therefore everybody holds the excess money rather than converting it into assets. The speculative demand, MDS, speculative demand is infinite. Next, write down star लगा के लिखो please. Liquidity trap. Write down. Question asked 2 times in prelims in last 3 years. Liquidity trap. Write down liquidity trap. Liquidity trap is a situation. In which the monetary policy becomes seemingly ineffective. Liquidity trap is a situation in which monetary policy becomes seemingly ineffective. Full stop. लिखो आगे इसमें liquidity trap में. When interest rates are extremely low, when interest rates are extremely low, that is near the R-min level. When interest rates are extremely low, that is near the R-min level, comma, if any new money is injected in the economy, if any new money is injected in the economy by the central bank, if any new money is injected in the economy by the central bank, comma, it will not be used for investment purposes. It will not be used for investment purposes. Full stop. It is a paradoxical situation. It is a paradoxical situation where interest rates are so low. It is a paradoxical situation where interest rates are so low that investment should be there. That investment should be there. Full stop. However, since interest rates are so low, that nobody expects appreciation of their investment. However, since interest rates are so low that nobody expects appreciation of their investment in future, therefore nobody will invest. Full stop. The central bank would like people to invest. The central bank would like people to invest by injecting more money. The central bank would like people to invest by injecting more money, and that too at extremely low rates. However, this excess money only satiates. NCERT में लाइन लिख के चल दिए. NCERT में they have written this line और लिख के बाय बाय कर दिया. However, this excess money only satiates. Satiate मतलब पेट भरना. Satiates people's cravings for cash. Excess money only satiates people's cravings for cash and not investment. investment. Full stop. This is the limitation of monetary policy. This is the limitation of monetary policy. Full stop. Unconventional policies like quantitative easing, QE, unconventional policies like quantitative easing, QE, are taken up in such circumstances, Full stop. I would have liked to tell you what quantitative easing is in this class, but number one, many students have already left. अगर मैं थोड़ा सा चालाक बनूं तो मैं अभी बता दूं आपको, for those as an incentive to all those who have stayed till this point, writing all what I have been dictating. But it would not be unfair. This is something of a really important topic. I would not want others to miss. ठीक है? So quantitative easing is something we'll cover after next to next class. Next to next class के बाद quantitative easing आएगा तब cover करेंगे. But I have introduced you to this concept of quantitative easing and liquidity trap. Liquidity trap is something I did not explain while I was explaining, but I have given you notes of liquidity trap now. I hope you will be able to understand. It's clearly a very simple situation. When interest rates are very low, what is it that we say what happens? Nobody would like to invest. So if interest rates are low and now central bank pushes in more money, prints more money and injects more money into the economy, what will happen to that money? What will be the effect of that new money which comes into the economy? Will that money be used for investment purposes? No. Why? Because interest rate is so low, nobody would like to invest that money. Why? Nobody expects appreciation on that investment. Central bank will keep on investing money, keep on pushing in more and more money, but that money will not be invested. Therefore, such situation when R reaches very low level, R min levels, monetary policy is at its limitations. We'll discuss monetary policy. अभी तक हमने monetary policy discuss नहीं करी है, but I've just discuss करने से पहले I've told you about limitation of monetary policy because it was more appropriate to discuss this here. Limitation of monetary policy. ठीक है, तो चलो आज की क्लास खत्म करते हैं. नेक्स्ट क्लास में आई डिक्टेट टू यू फॉर 5 मिनट्स. 5 मिनट का डिक्टेशन है, बट आज नहीं लिखवा रहा. आप 1 घंटे से लेके आप भी थक गए हो, मैं भी बोलते बोलते थक गया हूं. आई विल डिक्टेट टू यू अबाउट बॉन्ड्स. मैंने सोचा था आज ही लिखवा दूंगा, बट इट्स ऑलरेडी 8 o'clock. 2-3 मिनट बचे हैं. आज की क्लास 2 मिनट जल्दी खत्म कर देते हैं. I'll answer questions, don't worry. I'll answer those questions which are here. Any questions which you might have asked, I'll answer those questions. I sincerely hope that you would have found this class really intriguing. A very important class for understanding of economics, especially whatever is going on around us today. Class over हो चुकी है, जिसको जाना है वो जा सकता है. I'm just few things in general I'm telling. Really important topic which we have covered today, this speculative demand of money. Because there is so much going on in the economy right now, you must be reading in newspapers on a daily basis. Federal Reserve, जो अमेरिका का सेंट्रल बैंक है, they have taken a decision, they have met an inflation target, they are going to reduce their interest rates. What effect it will have on Indian economy? RBI is going to increase or decrease interest rates in pursuit of its inflation targets. What effect will it have on Indian economy? Last year, due to COVID, government said that we are incentivizing more and more people to borrow and invest so that new economic activity is created. In pursuit of that, RBI reduced interest rates in order to incentivize investments. So all those things, all those decisions are rising up from this decision, from this speculative demand. The discussion which we had regarding most interestingly discussion is the relationship between interest rates and investment. Interest rate अगर ज्यादा है, people would be less tempted to invest. ठीक है, तो हमने ये बेसिक डिस्कशन किया है. I hope everybody had followed the discussion. We'll carry on the discussion in the next class as well. Let me see जो एक लक्ष्य का पार्ट था regarding mathematical equation. Sir, I think we did the mathematical formula wrong. When we did the relation of interest rate and bond price, it should be an inverse relationship between interest rate and bond price, and the other equation should be inverse relationship of expected IR and speculative demand. Please answer the expert won't answer this. ये क्या बात हुई? Expert won't answer this. ये क्या बात हुई? Expert won't answer this. ऐसे मत लिखा करो यार. इतने सारे क्वेश्चन तुम्हारे एड्रेस करते हैं यार एक्सपर्ट्स, तो एंड यू आर सेइंग ऐसे मत लिखो प्लीज, दैट नॉट द राइट वे. एनीवेज आई विल आंसर दिस. Expected interest rates is speculation. Present interest rate is a fact. We say that at present what is the interest rate, that has some relationship with the speculative demand. At present if interest rates are high, that means we expect more people that they will say that interest rates will fall in future. Therefore we say that आज की तारीख में more people would have converted their money into bonds. Therefore today's speculative demand is less. If interest rates are high today, speculative demand is less today. If interest rates are low today, speculative demand is high today. So it is not future expected interest rate. Your understanding is correct. Your understanding is correct. Your understanding is perfectly fine. But when we use interest rate here, we are talking about present interest rate. We don't talk about future mathematics form में जो हमने लिखा है, we talk about present interest rate, है ना भाई. प्रेजेंट में हम यहां पे हैं, लेट्स से प्रेजेंट में वी आर हेयर. वन पर्सन इज स्पेक्युलेटिंग, वी विल गो हेयर. अनदर पर्सन इज स्पेक्युलेटिंग, वी विल गो हेयर. एज इन प्रेजेंट में दिस इज द इंटरेस्ट रेट. वन पर्सन इज स्पेक्युलेटिंग, वी विल गो हेयर. अनदर इज स्पेक्युलेटिंग, वी विल कम हेयर. वैभव ने क्या पूछा है? वैभव आपका क्वेश्चन मैंने आंसर कर दिया ना. इंटरेस्ट रेट विल इंक्रीज. आई थिंक दिस क्वेश्चन हैज बीन आंसर्ड. विल लीड टू फॉल इन बॉन्ड प्राइसेस व्हिच विल कॉज सेलिंग ऑफ बॉन्ड्स इन द मार्केट, अल्टीमेटली लीड टू एक्सेस मनी इन द मार्केट. सो स्पेकुलेटिव डिमांड इज इंक्रीजिंग विद द इंक्रीज इन इंटरेस्ट रेट. इज इट सो? नहीं यार, आई हैव आंसर्ड दिस क्वेश्चन वैभव. अब तो मेरे ख्याल से समझ में आ गया होगा. जस्ट रीड व्हाट हैज बीन डिक्टेटेड टू यू. जस्ट रीड, ट्राई टू think about it, read from NCERT, read from what I have dictated to you. I am 100% sure that it should be clear to you. एक सेकेंड. लक्ष्य आपका आंसर कर दिया ना, क्वेश्चन आंसर कर दिया है. Sir, if Sameem is saying, sir, is this interest rate on savings? This interest rate we have seen that interest rate that we have talked about. I'll answer this question in the next class. This interest rate is basically, we started with the interest rate as savings interest rate, and now I have used this R as in general interest rate. I'll talk about this transformation in the next class. Next class में बता दूंगा. अबू का क्वेश्चन है, sir, if a person gets 10% on bond at the end from the government, then how is he at a loss? He is not at a loss. Abu, I had answered this question. If today you get 10% from if you get 10% from the government, you will get it at the end of 1 year. But if today I am offering you 105 rupees, that means 5 rupees of profit today. And what will you do with those 100 rupees, 105 rupees that you get? You will invest that in savings bank. तो आपको एक साल के बाद 5 रुपए मिल जाएंगे. तो जो 10 रुपए आपको एक साल के बाद मिलने थे, 10 rupees which you could have got after 1 year, 5 out of them you are getting today. Is it not better for you? Obviously it is better. आज अगर पैसा मिल जाएगा तो बेटर है कि नहीं? चलो ठीक है. थैंक यू एवरीबॉडी. मोस्ट ऑफ यू हैव लेफ्ट. थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन. Poonam is asking, sir, in the bond I am investing in 105, whereas in savings bank invest only 100. Difference is yield. No, in bond I have invested 100. You have bond 105. Yes, your investment is 105. ठीक है, आप उसको कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो ना. नॉट एग्जैक्टली 105, इट वुड बी समथिंग लेस देन 105. क्योंकि अगर सेविंग्स बैंक में, पूनम ने पूछा ना क्वेश्चन, If you had invested 105 rupees in bank, then you would have earned, let's say 5.15 rupees as interest. मान लेते हैं 5.15, तो 0.15 रुपीज और कम कर दो उसका प्राइस 104.85. बेसिक आइडिया शुड बी क्लियर टू यू. यस, यू आर राइट. बॉन्ड में 105 रुपए इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं और सेविंग्स बैंक में 100 रुपए इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, तो वो डिफरेंस है. तो वी कैलकुलेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू. एनसीईआरटी में जो कैलकुलेट कर रखी है ना, दैट इज द एग्जैक्ट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू. एनसीईआरटी में, इफ आई रिमेंबर करेक्टली, 10/1 प्लस 5/100 इस टाइप से कैलकुलेट कर रखी है, प्लस 100 प्लस 10, अरे मेरे को 100% याद है यार, प्लस 1/5/100 का स्क्वायर. 2 साल का बॉन्ड है. This is how they have calculated very exact number. I just gave you a nearby number. Please discuss 2008 financial crisis. Obviously, I'll discuss. Don't worry about it. चलो ठीक है. तो वैभव, आपका लास्ट क्लास का क्वेश्चन है शायद. चलो, anybody who is remaining, I'll answer this question of Weber. He has been asking this thing, I think since long. Sir, in MV is equals to PQ, where V is velocity of money, which means number of time money has exchanged hands in CRT in the economy. Don't you think that here V should be equal to number of times money exchanged hands for purchase of final goods and services only and not intermediate goods while calculating GDP? As the same we assumed earlier by taking transaction demand proportional to GDP not equal to it. वैभव, ये तो मैंने आंसर किया था आज क्लास स्टार्टिंग में. आई सेड प्रोपोर्शनल तो है. व्हाट विल चेंज? सिंपली वेलोसिटी ऑफ मनी विल चेंज और नॉट. केवल वेलोसिटी चेंज होगी ना, कांस्टेंट की वैल्यू चेंज होगी ना. यू विल टेक कांस्टेंट. लास्ट क्लास में भी बताया था. तो लेट्स से नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स मनी चेंजेस हैंड्स फॉर फाइनल गुड्स इज 8 एंड नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स मनी चेंजेस हैंड्स फॉर इंटरमीडिएट गुड इज 2. सो वेलोसिटी विल चेंज फ्रॉम 10 to 8. 10 आपकी टोटल वेलोसिटी है, बट फॉर फाइनल गुड्स इट इज 8. ओनली दैट नंबर विल चेंज. वेलोसिटी का केवल नंबर चेंज होगा. द एसेंशियल नॉलेज दैट वी आर गेटिंग, द एसेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन दैट वी आर गेटिंग फ्रॉम दिस इक्वेशन, वो तो चेंज नहीं हो रही है ना. इंफॉर्मेशन क्या है? इंफॉर्मेशन सिंपली इज दैट ट्रांजैक्शन डिमांड इज प्रोपोर्शनल टू योर नॉमिनल जीडीपी. दैट इज द इंफॉर्मेशन. प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी कांस्टेंट ही तो चेंज हो रहा है और तो कुछ नहीं है ना. ये भी हमने डिस्कस किया था. चलो, गुड नाइट एवरीबॉडी. थैंक यू सो मच. we'll see each other in next class. अरे वैभव यार, तुमने स्पैम ही कर दिया, बता तो दिया. ठीक है, चलो कोई बात नहीं. गुड नाइट एवरीबॉडी. नेक्स्ट क्लास में मिलते हैं, whenever it is. आई थिंक ट्यूसडे को होगी हमारी नेक्स्ट क्लास. बाय बाय, गुड नाइट. अभ्युदय, शांतनु, there are few questions which are left. I am really sorry. बच्चे क्या बच्चे अभी? Yes, there are some people left. I sincerely hope those who have asked question. I am really sorry. मैंने पहले good night बोल दिया. Some of you would have gone. There are few questions left already. Questions left which needed answered. I'm sorry. I was looking at the portal, not looking at the query portal where experts are putting their doubts. Abhyuday, if you are here, next class में पूछ लेना यार. Anybody who has, I see the question of Abhyuday, शांतनु, वुडनाला, लक्ष्य का मैंने आंसर कर दिया, नीलम एंड शांतनु, वैभव को भी मैंने आंसर कर दिया है. Abhyuday, वुडनाला, शांतनु एंड one more person was there, नीलम. Yes. आज please answer it. Please ask your question. I'm really sorry. I said good night before without looking at the portal. I should have looked at it. Really sorry for that. I'll answer your questions in the next class. ठीक है, next class में आंसर कर दूंगा. Hopefully, please ask them. Please ask your questions. I'll answer them. Don't worry about it. ठीक है, चलो. Good night, everybody. Bye bye. I don't know whether you people are still here or not. Those who had asked question. ठीक है, many have left, so I'm assuming you might have also left. Please ask them. Those of you who are here to ask them in the next class. Goodbye. Good night.